Hey guys, how you doing? This is Madhvi from TaroticallySpeaking.com and ElanTarot.com. And today, after a bit of a break, which was a crazy hectic break, I am back again with uh well, the final video in this series for now, I suppose. We are looking at looking back at the Deccan Walk uh, that I did all through 2025 and the early 3 months of 2026. And there are a bunch of patterns, of course, that I noticed because that's kind of what I do. And I'm going to talk about them. I wanted to make a video where I really went into those patterns. Some of these patterns I noticed while I was doing it, and some of these while I was making these slides, which is again very, very crazy. And yes, I'm sorry, I know I should have put this video out much earlier, but it took a long time to make these slides, and from I kept going through these run throughs, and I was like, nah, I need to add more, I need to put in more. And oh my god, there's only so much space on this slide, right? And on top of that, April has been hectic, and I don't know about you, but my April was mad hectic, like unbelievably hectic. And the thing is, I have spoken to a lot of people, and everybody agrees in different areas of life, And again, since we're looking at tarot, astrology, and all of that, we had, I believe, 5 planets in Aries over, through various parts of April. That explains it. Like, as it is, Aries is the sign of just like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And along with Mars, we had, I believe, we had Sun, we had Mercury, we had Venus, and of course, we also have Saturn and Neptune in there. So we have all those 5 planets sort of crammed in Aries. You can imagine it was nuts. And I mean, think back, think back to your April and tell me if things have not been hectic. There probably are different life areas of where things got hectic for you, because that's where Aries probably shows up in your life and chart. But yeah, it was hectic, and people have confirmed that, so it's not just me. So anyhow, finally, I'm stealing a moment here and there between 2 things and 3 things and whatnot, all the different flying plates in the air. So apologies for the late video, but I'm sure you don't mind. You guys are sweet. Okay, so let's look at these patterns, right? Let's dive deep. Let's try to understand what, if I made any sense here, and tell me if I made any sense here. Okay, before we go ahead, I also wanted to say that, as with all the earlier videos, all the different links to the downloadable files, folders, PDFs, what have you, everything is in the video description. I will be also converting the transcript into a nice readable blog post. There'll probably be journaling prompts, right? You can totally adjust the playback speed. Okay. Um, Please also like, share, and subscribe to my video, and my like and share my video and this playlist, and subscribe to my channel, because basically I'm studying, I'm learning, I'm discovering new things, and you guys are along for the ride. So if you want to be along for the ride and share all the insights as I get them, well, subscribe. So and what do they say these days? Yeah, click on the bell button so you will get the notifications and whatnot. So please do that. I also want to give a shout out to Valerie. Her Substack is amazing. I mean, she was doing the Decan Walk with us, with me, and she was doing all of that, and now she's doing it again, which is so cool, because she works with gemstones, the the different gemstones, and I have been a gemstone girly for some time. It's one of my little things. Like, well, I'm Leo rising and Leo moon. Shiny things are always, something that I feel pulled towards, obviously. And I mean, gems, come on, right? So she has what she has started doing is she started connecting these dots with the different precious and semi-precious stones that she works with, and she talks about that. And so she's really bringing it home for her, because I know that's how I see that, it's more meaningful to her, because that's her language, right? Like how I look at all of this through the lens of the tarot cards, because, well, tarot is my language in a way. So for her, gemstones are her language, and you can actually see the whole thing, like it's more alive. So absolutely go read Valerie's posts. I have the link to her Substack. I'll put that in the video description as well, so you can totally check that out. And finally, if you want to stay in touch, right, I also have a newsletter. Please sign up for that. Um, yeah, there's a whole lot, something or the other is always going on. In fact, currently I'm also running a bit of a sort of a pre-order discount thing for my semi-annual readings, because a lot of people ordered semi-annual readings at the beginning of the year. So as we're approaching the middle of the year, and I know the reason I'm sending these emails out earlier is because so you can plan, prepare, and so forth, budget for it. Money is always tight, so it's always good to sort of give people a little head start, right? So yeah, so if you pre-order now, as it becomes possible, then by the beginning of the seventh month, I believe July, you'll have your reading in your hand, and you'll be able to plan out the next 6 months. If you want to go and do like an annual reading, I can do that as well. Same discount code will apply. So all of that is there. You can sign up for my newsletter, and you will get the newsletter, and you will get the information. All right. This journey essentially began when I sort of got into astrology, and or rather I got pulled into it. I got drawn towards it. I've been feeling it for a while, and so I was like, okay. And then I noticed that, of course, there is a connection between tarot and astrology, and tarot is where I started my sort of journey of exploring everything, and so naturally I had to connect it, and that is why I was like, okay, with tarot as the base and the foundation, we're gonna build on that with astrology now, and so tarot and astrology sort of blended in. It was wild, it was amazing, right? And literally, as I was studying it, I was making these notes, I was making these slides. That's kind of, like how I study nowadays. Back in the day, I used to like write, make notes, have the highlighter in there. It was nuts. And now I make slides. So yeah, enjoy. So I guess I took you along with me for this year long sort of journey, and we got into it. We really got into it, and I absolutely enjoyed myself, yeah, thoroughly. Now the thing is, if you guys are joining in later, or if you guys are coming in now, whatever, it's fine, no worries. Go in the video description. I have the link to the playlist. You can start from the very first video where I go into the logic of the sequence and everything, and go from there. All right. And along with us, like you, me, and there were all these decks. We looked at, of course, because like I said, tarot is the foundation, and I got these three foundation decks. You have your Rider Waite, but you also have the Marseille and the Thoth, right? Like actually, it's if we see sequence in terms of timeline chronology, we have Marseille comes first, then the Rider Waite, then the Thoth. And then, of course, I also brought along the Telos Tarot, which was a recent acquisition and quite a bit of a surprise because it has incorporated the Decans and stuff in it. And I also found this awesome deck, which is, collection of the 36 different Decans. There's a card for each decan. Interesting, right? And then I added on these astrology decks. We have star codes, Astro Oracle, and then the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. So if you go through all my previous videos, you will see these being used thoroughly, prominently, right? And along with these decks, of course, I also had a bunch of books that I referred to. The Marseille Tarot by Yoav Ben Dov was my sort of go-to for Marseille. We also have the 36 Secrets book by T. Susan Chang, which started me because, I was like reading it and I was like, oh, Decan Walk, let's do this. Then we also have T. Susan Chang and M. Moline, who got together and wrote Tarot Deciphered. We also have Tarot Correspondences by T. Susan Chang. M. Moline, coincidentally, is the creator of the Telos tarot deck, right? Then we have, of course, Lon Malo Duquette in his book about the thought. I also love this beautiful book of, with the keywords. It's brilliant. It's like got all the meanings and the keywords there. I hope I pronounce it correctly. We have Hajo Banzaf and Bridget Teller. And then we have this one. This is also Hajo Banzaf and Anna. I can't pronounce this. Hebler, I think. I apologize if I mispronounce your name. Okay. And this is keywords for astrology. He's you have to go and look at his books. He's done a phenomenal job with the keywords for the tarot, for the Crowley tarot, and this one, astrology, that kind of follows in that footsteps. You've got like keywords. It's brilliant. I love keywords. I'm sure you must have realized that by now. We also have Juliana McCarthy's Stars Within You, and of course the companion guidebooks. And well, I didn't read this whole thing. It's a bit a lot, but we referred to some of the things, the meanings of the Decans from the Picatrix book. So yeah, all these books, all these decks, all on board, and we studied it, and we really got into it. It was fun, wasn't it? So a quick recap of the Decans, right? What's it all about? We have our 12 zodiac signs, right? They are arranged in a circular manner in our astrology wheel because, let's say you're standing right at the center and you look up in the sky, you see, everything around you in a circle. That's how the logic is. And so 360 degrees divided by 12, we get 30 degrees for each zodiac sign. So those 30 degrees are again divided into three parts of 10 degrees each, which give us the decan, right? Metric signs and metric stuff, anybody. Anyway, so we have three decans for each zodiac sign. Now, each of those decans is associated with a planet, and those planets follow a certain sequence, which is Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter. And that pattern continues repeatedly: Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter. And so it goes till we reach the end again, which we just have Mars again. So Mars kind of gets the beginning and the end energy here. Okay, so it goes all around. And this sequence, there's a logic for it. I think it goes from the slowest moving planet to the fastest moving planet. I think it goes Jupiter is the slowest, then Saturn, then Moon, I guess. I don't know how more. And then we have Mercury, Venus, Sun, and Mars. It goes like that way. That is the logic of it. Or no, wait, hang on. It's midway from there somewhere, but it starts with Mars because Mars is the ruler of Aries. Okay, so yeah, I think it goes from yeah, I think Moon, Mercury. I know it goes this way, right? Anyhow, the point is, the logic of it is, if you guys are confused, and now I'm getting confused myself, but I know there is a logic for it. I have explained it in my first video, and I know it starts with Moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. That's the or Saturn, Jupiter. I think that's the sort of the actual slowest to fastest, and then they've arranged it. And then we begin with Mars because that's the ruler of Aries. That's the thing. Go back to the very first video if you're confused. I'm sorry for confusing you right now. Go back to the first video and you will see the explanation there. Anyhow, so uh, we have a planet in a sign associated with a decan, right? And so we go all around. We have essentially 12 into 3, 36 total decans. Now, for every 3 signs, we also get an ace and a page to support it. And we also get, for every 3 decans, we get a court card. Now, those court cards don't, they don't fully align with a single sign. There's an overlap. So 2 decans of one sign and 1 decan of the previous sign. So that's how they go. Okay. And at first, when I started out, I didn't know the logic. I didn't understand why specifically certain aces or pages or court cards were associated with certain specific decans. But I figured it out. I figured out the ace and page, but I recently literally figured out the court cards thing. So I'm going to tell you about it. Don't worry. That's the whole point of this video, isn't it? The patterns. And these patterns ultimately are all about stories. For me, the tarot has been a way to understand. I mean, on my own personal journey, the tarot cards have been a way to understand my story, right? To make sense of the different things that happen in my life, the stories, the incidents, and and then looking at the images help kind of functioning as a mirror. I go dive deep into it and I try to see what is it, what's going on, what's behind the scenes here, what's the undertones here, right? It's all about the story. It's all about the different angles of the story that you're seeing, that you're experiencing, that you're living through. And the tarot is an amazing, amazing mirror. And because it's something not within you but outside of you, like an actual card you're looking at, it it does tend to bring in a level of objectivity into the flow. So I love that. I love that about it. So ultimately, we are looking at stories. We are looking at the tales that we tell, like of our lives, of our adventures, of our experiences. And these are the pictures and the cards and the stories that are made out of those pictures, right? So we are going to look at these different stories as well, because all these patterns ultimately join together in a story, right? And I guess if you're curious, it's a very simple method that I have followed here. We are looking at the patterns, we're going to analyze, we're going to summarize everything. And in order to do that, I'm going to use my keywords, right? I've used keywords all of my tarot life and I've associated keywords with those cards. They help me sort of unlock what the card is all about. They help me sort of summarize what the card is all about, and they help bring focus. They kind of bring it in. They kind of bring it all together. It's a lovely way to hone in to the energy of the card, and I love using keywords. And these associated keywords and key phrases, I don't know if you noticed, but as I started working through it, I gave keywords and key phrases for each decan, for each planet, for each sign. And as I was working with the card meanings, of course, and the decans, all of it, I have given keywords for pretty much a lot of these things. And I'm going to use those. Those are what I'm going to use. I'm going to organize and analyze these patterns. And these are the little groups that I have sort of created: the ace and page, the court cards, planets, the suits, the signs, planet groups, and the whole story. So don't worry, I'm going to show you. Don't worry. That's what this whole slideshow is all about. So I'm going to show you all of it. Okay. So let's get in. Let's dive right in. Let's look at the stories. First, the supporting aces, pages, and the court cards, right? So I'm sure plenty of you remember this hectic chart. And we have the top part is your planets. These are the ruling planets, and these are the zodiac signs, right? And then we have the decans. And originally these charts just had the card numbers in here, but now I was like, no, I want to do something, because one is not busy enough. So I was like, okay, let's put the card images in here. And as I was doing that, that's when it struck me, right? Now, the aces and pages thing, that had already sort of, I had had that aha moment, I believe, in the very initial few videos of, when I was making the very initial few videos of the Decan Walk journey. I had that aha moment. And so, but I will tell you, if you notice, you have a group of three signs, right? You have Aries, Taurus, Gemini, right? That's the first triad, if you will, which contains a cardinal, a fixed, and a mutable sign, right? And so look at the central fixed sign. Here it is Taurus, and that is a fixed sign, which is an earth sign, which gives us this sort of earth energy associated Pentacles, Ace, and Page. Next group we have Cancer, Leo, Virgo. And so the middle one is the fixed sign, which is Leo, which is a fire sign. So you get Ace and Page of Wands, right? Then in the third sort of triad, we have Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius. The fixed sign here is Scorpio, and that's a water sign, which gives us the Ace and Page of Cups. And the final sort of triad, we have Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, where the fixed sign is Aquarius, which is an air sign. So we get the Ace and Page of Swords. Yay! We got that part. What about the court cards, right? We've already seen each court card is associated with two decans of one sign and one decan of the previous sign. And as I was adding the cards here, that's what I noticed. I'm like, wait a second. Let's start with this knight, right? This knight is Knight of Pentacles, and the Knight of Pentacles is, well, Pentacles in the earth sign. And look, it has the two decans, or the big major ones, are earth sign decans, and the one preceding it is a fire sign decan. Okay, so the majority is earth sign. This is also an earth sign card. Next card is your King of Swords here, which is an air energy card. And look, we have two air energy decans and one of the previous preceding one, which is the earth energy decan. Then we come to the Queen of Cups, which is again water, and we have two water decans and one previous one, which is the air decan, and so on. So essentially, the element of your suit, uh, that's the majority two decans you have, and then whatever was preceding that is the one decan you have. So that's kind of like bridging the signs there. But then again, I noticed another sort of layer, right? Let's start again with the knights. If you notice, you see 4, 5, and 6. Those are the number cards, right, for a knight. Let's see this knight. You have the 4. So for the Knight of Pentacles, you get the 4 of Wands, 5 and 6 of Pentacles. For the Knight of Wands, you get the 4 of Cups and the 5 and 6 of Wands. For the Knight of Cups, you get the 4 of Swords and the 5 and 6 of Cups. And for the Knight of Swords, you get the 4 of Pentacles and the 5 and 6 of Swords. So all the knights are associated with cards numbered 4, 5, and 6. What about the kings? Well, the King of Swords has the 7 of Pentacles and the 8 and 9 of Swords. The King of Swords, has 7 of Pentacles and 8 and 9 of Swords. The King of Pentacles has the 7 of Wands and the 8 and 9 of Pentacles. The King of Wands has 7 of Cups and the 8 and 9 of Wands. And the King of Cups has the 7 of Swords with the 8 and 9 of Cups. So 7, 8, and 9 are the number cards associated with the king. And what about the queen? Well, she gets the 10 and the 2 and 3. Look at that. For the Queen of Wands, we have the 10 of Cups and the 2 and 3 of Wands. For the Queen of Cups, she gets the 10 of Swords and the 2 and 3 of Cups. The Queen of Swords gets the 10 of Pentacles and the 2 and 3 of Swords. The Queen of Pentacles gets the 10 of Wands, the 2 and 3 of Pentacles. That is wild. So what we see here is the Queen energy is right at the beginning of, if we look at the number flow, 2 and 3 are the very beginning parts of the journey. This is where things are just happening. 2 is where things are, there's that duality, there's the connection, the separation, the push and pull between the opposites. And 3 is where it all sort of integrates, unites, and starts generating. That is the energy of the queen. She's also there at the 10. Mind you, in the numerology journey, the story begins at 0 and ends at 9. So 10 is like pushing that 9. We've seen that even with the numerology sort of journey of in the minor arcana. 9 is where there is culmination, but 10 is where you push that further and sort of stretch it out. And somewhere those culminations are good and somewhere, well, they're painful too, like the 10 of Swords, 10 of Wands. Oh my god, right? Whereas 10 of Cups, 10 of Pentacles, it's like a happy push. But wherever that happens, we have that queen supporting it. So these queens are not just nurturing the beginnings, they are, because it's queens will, I guess, bring forth, right, this beginning energy and nurture it, but they're also nurturing the ending, the extra additional, whatever happens after the culmination part. That is also the part that these queens are nurturing, the end part, right? So that's where queens come in. Then we have the knights. The knights are the ones, in even in the court card journey, the knights are the ones which are the active part. Like the pages are the beginnings, but then the knights are more active. Queens bring the compassion and nurturing, and the kings are maturity and control. So if in that way, knights are more active, and they are associated with 4, 5, and 6. And that's where you see 4 is where the harmony happens, where stability comes in, but that stability tends to stagnate and brings the 5 energy into the picture. That's the change, that's the undiscomfort, that's the, oh my god, there was stability before and now everything is just moving. And but then you move forward into the 6, where you bring a different level of that stability. There's harmony, there's others now, there's not just you, right? That's where I think the knights are very, very supportive here, and it's beautiful. And then finally we have 7, 8, and 9 supported by the kings. And 7 is the number where you test your limits. You look at what you can and cannot do. You try, you fail, you give it your best, you push that harmony that you created with others in the 6. You now brings, with 7, you are like, okay, is this as far as it goes, or can I push a little bit more? And that's where, in 8, that transformation happens. There's a struggle, there's the structure of 8, but also it takes you now to the next level, in because as numbers go, odd numbers are changeable, but even numbers are where things can be a little stable. And that's where 8 is. There is change, there is transformation, but it also is looking for that stability in a way. And then finally we have that culmination in 9. And obviously kings want to be there managing that and handling that. But then what happens once that energy is pushed? We get the queen again. See, that is the interesting part. That is how it shows up. So if we look at the hierarchy being page, knight, queen, and king, I would say in the Decan Walk, the hierarchy is, well, Queen, knight, king, and queen again. So it's that's how I'm seeing it. And it's interesting to see that. So again, if we see how this shows up, the Queen of Wands supporting, the ending of the story of the Decans, a Decan Walk at Ten of Pentacles. I'm sorry, Ten of Cups, where Mars in Pisces is just like pushing forward through that dissolution energy of Pisces and saying, "Hey, look at what I've achieved." And then the journey begins again, because even after having achieved what he wanted to achieve at the end of this particular whole sort of journey, well, Mars is Mars. Mars is never going to be satisfied, and they're like, "Okay, I accomplished that. Let's start again. Let's like go on another adventure." And the queen is there to nurture it and make it happen and sort of bring it forth, right? The queen of with 2 and 3, this knight of pentacles then supports and sort of holds the ground for the party, the celebration in the 4 of wands. But then in 5 and 6, it is also there holding the ground, even as they go through the hardship, and then they come out on the other side and receive the help they receive. Then the King of Swords comes up with his logic, with his mental acuity, and supports the sort of patient growth of the Seven of Pentacles. But then, of course, he also has to struggle with that Eight of Swords limitations that he's put on himself. And there in the Nine of Swords, obviously, he's going to really face it down. He's going to have to look at his anxiety. He can't avoid it. And then finally in the 10, we get, the horrible Ten of Swords energy where, everything is just on you. There's horrible, painful experiences of hurt. And, that caused by mental stuff, obviously. And the Queen of Cups is there to support, to hold you there, to kind of, hang in there, give you the emotional sustenance you need, because then you'll proceed to the 2 and 3 of cups, right? You're like, okay, it was a painful situation, but I gotta get out there and meet people. I gotta connect with people. I gotta, interact with people. And that's where you will also receive that emotional nourishment and support, right? 2 and 3 of cups. And then comes the Knight of Wands saying, hey, all right, let's go. Because 4 of cups, everything is stagnant, stable, and well, boredom has struck in. So he's like, nope, I'm gonna shake things up. And he goes in the 5 and 6 of wands, where 5, everything is chaotic, obviously, but then 6, everything gets harmonized. You were like, okay, I'm gonna lead this crazy group of people into some semblance of a victory, make them happy. And then comes the King of Pentacles saying, all right, fantastic, let's put our plan into play. We have the 7 of wands trying to stand up and face down all the things. And then in the 8 of pentacles, they're going to, improve upon their skill set. In the 9, they're going to become independent and sort of enjoy the life that they're building. And the King of Pentacles is there to support that. And then, here comes the 10 of Pentacles, where, oh, now look, we are spreading our, material happiness across the board with our family. But then the Queen of Swords is there. She's like, yeah, sure, you got to be smart here. You can't just be careless with it. This is your legacy, right? Like, let's draw lines, let's make rules. And then, we have the difficult decisions of the Two of Swords. Like, she's the one who's going to make them. She's going to support you to make them. She's going to also, have the painful breakthroughs and the heartbreaks, and she's going to face them with you. But she's also going to draw the line. She's going to show you where the lines are drawn. She's going to show you exactly how she will manage all of this. There's tough decisions to be made, and she's there for it, right? And so after that, you need the healing of the Knight of Cups, who comes in the 4 of swords, and like, okay, you need counseling, you need therapy, you need someone to listen as you heal. I will help you figure that out. So let's grieve together in the 5 of cups. Let's let's take a trip down memory lane and, replenish our souls, if you will, with our past, happy memories, in the Six of Cups. And this guy is there all throughout, helping you, slowly, steadily healing, rebuilding. But then the King of Wands comes in and says, okay, Seven of Cups, what are your dreams? What are your ambitions? What do you want to go and accomplish? Let's go. Let's not waste time. And then in the eight and nine, you're like, okay, let's go. And the eight, you make it happen. Your things are moving. And in the nine, you're like, okay, I gotta protect what I have accomplished, and I gotta protect myself along the way, right? But then here comes the 10, and you're like, oh, I have overloaded myself. I've taken on way too many things. But your Queen of Pentacles is there. She is the practical one and also the very, very genuine one. She's creative, productive, but also very practical, very rooted and grounded. And she's going to look at that 10 of Wands guy and be like, dude, you got to put some wands down. You can't carry it all. And then she teaches him in the Two of Pentacles to juggle the resources, to handle them, and then how to make it happen. The Three of Pentacles, the manifestation, she's supporting that, right? Then here comes the Knight of Swords. He's gonna take a look at this Four of Wands guy and he's like, no, my guy, you cannot hold on to all of these things, right? Like the more you hold on, the more you consolidate, the more things are gonna get scary. You gotta go out there, you gotta stand up and fight. In the Five of Swords, you stand up and you fight, and you're like, okay, right? What is the hill I want to die on, as they say here. You decide what do you want to stand up for, where you want to stand up for, where you want to walk away from, what is it that you want to believe, and what is it that you want to not hang on to, right? And after all of that, this Knight of Swords is there supporting you as you move past everything, and you take what you want and you leave everything else behind. But then we have the King of Cups supporting your Seven of Swords, who's trying to get away with doing something, shady, perhaps a little extra, perhaps. And the King of Cups is just like, oh yeah, you want to do shady things? I'm with you. Because, he's the Water King. He is he allows things to be, floaty, flexible, nebulous, if you will. And he's like, okay, take advantage of the situation that you can. Then what happens is that will also hurt you, and you will have to walk away from it. You will understand that even, sometimes what you may think is an extra smart opportunity is actually creates its own burdens. And here in the Eight of Cups, you walk away from it all, and you instead of looking at or looking for happiness and satisfaction in others, you find it in yourself. You That's the secret of the Nine of Cups, is that until you're happy with yourself, you cannot be happy with others, right? And so here the King of Cups finally sort of connects with that as well. He is as much as at home with the Seven of Swords guy as he's with the Nine of Cups guy. And this eight becomes his transition. And finally, we have the Queen of Wands here again. Now, she's genuine and kind and creative and warm and supportive and all of that lovely stuff, and she's there supporting the 10 of Cups energy, saying, okay, yeah, you found your solo happiness, and now you can happily share it with everybody around you and spread the love, and she's there to nourish it. So you see how this journey flows, and these quote cards are there to support that. Isn't that interesting? So yeah. Okay. So well, I did this with the thought as well, because I like torturing myself. So here is this visualization with the thought, and of course with your Marseille tarot. And why not leave the telos behind? Of course, I did that with the telos as well. So, so you can spend some time looking at these pictures and creating your own storylines. I highly encourage you to do that. I will say you should look at your keywords, look at the keywords that you have written for each of these cards, the keywords that you've created for each of these cards. If you've been using the handouts and so forth that I've been talking about in my earlier videos, you will have them by now, or well, I encourage you to spend time doing that and use those keywords. Build your stories. Like, don't be like, oh, Madhvi's story is fine. I'm sure it is, because of course I'm creative like that, but I want you to write your own stories in your own words, in your own language, because that way you will remember it better, right? And it will be yours, obviously. So it'll have twists and turns that are very much you. So I may see certain energies in certain cards at certain times in my journey, but you will probably have other things that you notice, that you resonate with, and I want you to write your story that way. Okay. So, well, this is the ace and the page and all of that. Fantastic. Now, let's look at the stories of the planets. So, let's begin, of course, with Mars. These are the different cards that were associated, that had Mars in them, basically. Now, you'll see that in Mars we have 6 cards, but in all the other planets will be just 5, right? Because Mars appears at the beginning and at the end, right? 2 of Wands, 10 of Cups. So, Mars is the planet of action and energy. Okay, let me also give you a little quick tour of this chart that I have here. As you can see, the slide is very busy. I tried to put everything in there and I had to take some things out. I couldn't put all the other decks in here. But anyway, you will see, you have the card name, you have the glyphs, right? I made a little column row, but row for the dignity, because I realized some planets were rulers, some were exalted, some were in detriment, some were debilitated. That had to be reflected. We are of course incorporating astrology here, so why not? If you've noticed, all throughout I have given certain keywords for each decan. They are here. Here are the keywords for each planet, for the sign, and for the zodiac. I don't know why I did 2, but I have done that, so I have it here. This GD refers to Golden Dawn. These are the words you'll see on the Thoth and the Telos cards. These are the Golden Dawn sort of keywords for those cards. And then here's the Decan meaning from the Picatrix deck. Here is the meanings from, for the, keywords for the Rider-Waite. Some keywords, okay, not all. I couldn't fit everything in here, so I just took the big main ones. Then for the Tarot de Marseille and from the Thoth. All right. So we're going to use all of this to build our story. These are our materials, if you will. The image, of course, but then the words are here. And we're going to build the story. So what is the journey of Mars through this whole entire Decan Walk of the year? What happens? How does Mars show up in this journey? All right. This is like a 6-step journey, I would say. So we'll look at it. Mars is associated with the Tower card, yes, and that is the card of destruction, breakdowns, war. But we also have Mars is the action and energy planet. Mars is is the energy to make it happen. It's the energy to for war, for everything, right? That is Mars energy, Martian energy. And so the adventure begins really in the Two of Wands, where Mars is in Aries. Mars rules Aries, so Mars is very happy there, obviously, and he has the energy to. And Aries is all about taking action and making things happen. And so Aries is also reckless. It's about the search for identity. So you want to dominate. You want to make things happen. You are looking for new opportunities. There's options. There's eagerness. all these energies are there across these images. You will find that the Martian energy is more than happy to explore, to have that adventure, to seek what else is out there, right? And because in Aries, Mars just wants to go, 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 go. Let's see, let's go, let's make it happen. Let's look what else is out there, right? But then next up in Gemini, when Mars is in Gemini here, it's in the Nine of Swords, and Gemini energy is all about the sort of mental duality, if you will, and it's about looking at both sides of everything, and this is stressful because for Mars, which is a very action oriented planet, it's not a very mentally thingy. It's like forcing your action energy in your brain and it's going in two different directions. It is stressful. It's horrible for Mars, and you can see it in the picture, right? In the thought, we see it as violence and brutality. It's even called cruelty here. In your Marseille tarot, he has to win this battle against superior forces using courage. Right? He has to push through this little. The sword here is little compared to other swords, really, and it has to break through this sort of enclosure. In the telos as well, the cruelty is obvious, right? The thoughts and the different swords, everything is just painful and bloody. This could be actual blood, this could be mentally, very stressful. And in the Nine of Swords, obviously, you'll see this whole thing sort of coming up: anxiety, worry, sleepless nights. It's just hard to deal with this. And see, what happens is, with this adventurous energy, you just want to go, go, go. But then when you're faced with this Gemini energy of duality, your go, go, go active energy is pulled in two different directions, and it is mentally horribly brutal and stressful. Naturally, the anxiety is there, and you carry it with you in the sign of Leo in Seven of Wands, where Mars shows up again. And what happens here? This anxiety is palpable, right? Suddenly, that go, go, go energy has manifested, and everything is happening all at once. There's six wands coming at this guy. There's seven wands, or six wands, even here. Yeah, you have, these wands represent maybe tasks or different energetic, forces coming at them, and they have to stand their ground, and they have to face them down. It is overwhelming, but it also requires you to be brave and very sort of strong, which is a feature of Mars. So Mars is not unhappy there. In Leo, it's also fire sign. Mars is a fiery planet. Leo is the sign of kings and rulers, and Mars, well, is the general of the army, if you will. And well, he's the Lord of War. He is in the sign of kings. He's happy. He's not uncomfortable there and elementally. And so he uses that, and that anxiety, which is now in the earlier Decan was, sort of internal, now has become external. But he is strong enough, and this is where he can do something, right? The mental part, it was hard. There's not nothing to do. It was all in the head. But here he can take action. He can do something. Mars is happy to sort of have something to do, right? Even in the thought, and the Marseille is like, yeah, you're being brave and you're pushing through whatever it is that's coming at you, and you are facing down that overwhelm and that mental stress. Thankfully, it's in the tangible part of the story, so you're like, let's go, let's do this. Mars can handle that part, right? Now, as this unfolds, what happens is Mars comes back again in Scorpio in Five of Cups. Now, Scorpio, it rules Scorpio, but Scorpio is not like Aries, right? Aries was all about adventure and identity and sort of ambitiously seeking everything. But Scorpio is something, it's a water sign, so it's elementally, again, very different from the fire energy, but it is all about the darker aspects, the hidden depths of that ambition. Perhaps it's about passion and obsession. It's what drives really this Aries energy, if you will. It's the dark energy that maybe pushes you to be this way. And in the Five of Cups, of course, it's the fives bring that chaos, that change, that discomfort. So as Mars embarks on this sort of murky deep dive, because even in the seven, as it has sort of faced down everything, the Five of Cups asks Mars, or pushes Mars in this very, very uncomfortable territory, to look deep into the motivations, into the sort of the darker, shadowy parts of its own sort of ambitions and desires. And here in the Five of Cups, Mars looks at what it has given up, the connections, the people, the friends, right? What has lost or what has gone away, what walked away, what it may have destroyed along the way, right? All of it brings sadness, but then it also evokes the darker emotions of hatred and ill will, right? And you are looking at that energy where there's resentment, there's disappointment even, and so you're looking at a range of emotions from sadness to hatred, and somewhere you decide to sort of settle and embrace that disappointment, and sort of depression might happen, right? Like where you go in that depth in a negative way. But here in the Five of Cups, where you see them sort of forming connections and linking up, you're like, okay, you're using that passion to sort of connect with like minded people who are just like you, who are going through all of that hardship and sort of, burning with sort of, that regrets and resentments and everything, all that dark stuff, right? You are using this energy in different ways. Mars is still pushing you forward, whether to grieve, whether to be depressed, whether to get angry, or whether to connect with like minded people. One way or the other, Mars in Scorpio is pushing you to look at that darker part of what motivates you in this story, in this journey, because Mars wants to keep going, right? And when it comes out of that Scorpio energy and finds itself in the sort of structured, not relaxed, but stable, manifested, material world of Capricorn. Mars is exalted here, right? Because Capricorn is very ambitious, but unlike Aries ambition, which is all about let's go, let's go, let's go, Capricorn is like, steady on now. This is the real world. We're making things happen. Here again, Mars has something to do, right? Not feel or think, but do, which Mars absolutely loves that. Mars, incidentally, is also exalted here in Three of Pentacles. So, what does it do? It builds that cathedral, it teams up with the people who are working with it, and it builds that cathedral. Here, too, Mars is engaged with that energy of creation and manifestation. In the Thoth and in the Marseille, we see that as well. We see the results happen. We see actual manifestation happen. The the output, the outcome of the teamwork, the creativity manifests itself into something real and tangible. So yeah, in Capricorn, it is exalted but also happy. It's like it's got something genuinely tangible to do, and it's building, it's creating. Where in Seven of Wands, it probably went to war. Here, it's like what happened after the war. In Five, maybe it looked at what it lost and left behind in that war, and then after that, it made something happen. It rebuilt, it manifested, right? And then finally in Pisces, Mars is like, okay, well, the ambition and the desire to make things happen is still here. So even in Pisces, where everything is dissolving, in the Ten of Cups, where everything is again being stretched, here Mars has finally said, after all this adventuring, I want to settle down. But, again, there too, the ambition follows. So it's not just your everyday regular settling down. No, no, no. He has to be the best. So even this happy family, it has to be the best, right? Whatever it manifests, this advancement, right? this emotional connection, this leadership, he will be at the top of that particular ladder always. And so, yeah, he's the best, happiest family you've ever seen. That's your 10 of Cups right there. So yeah, this is the journey of Mars, who went to war in the Two of Wands, was like looking for adventure. In your Nine of Swords, got struck down by the dual thoughts, the conflicting thought processes. And then it kind of used that energy to go fight everything down and stand his ground in the Seven of Wands. But then in the, so we have Mars and Leo there. But then in Mars and Scorpio, Five of Cups, he had to face down that grief and deal with all shades of that emotions, the depression, the resentments, and sort of some creative networking, if you will. And then in Capricorn and Three of Pentacles, it used that. Those experiences built something, manifested something, did something tangibly real, rebuilt after the war and the sadness. And obviously, in the Ten of Cups with Mars and Pisces, it had to be the best at what it had to do. It had to have the best happy ending ever. And yeah, that's what Mars did in the Decan Walk. Now, let's look at Sun. Sun, oh my God, Sun is the energy of vitality, of the ego. Sun is all about shining right bright. Sun is the center of the universe, and Sun likes to be the center of the universe. So anybody who has a lot of Sun energy is also looking for that center of the universe energies, in that way. And here in our tarot, Sun is all about enthusiasm and clarity and seeking that sort of connection within that duality, the brightness of success and the clarity of vision, right? It basically sustains and nourishes everything. Today, all the plants that grow have, all of us, even, what we see, everything, is powered by the sun. Hmm? The sun essentially is there to show us the way. And that's what the sun does. So what's happening here? We have, oh, look at this. We have Sun in Aries in the Three of Wands. Then we have Sun in Gemini in Ten of Swords. We have Sun in Virgo in Eight of Pentacles. We have Sun in Scorpio in the Six of Cups. And then we have Sun in Capricorn in Four of Pentacles. What does the Sun do in the Decan Walk? Well, in the Three of Wands, the Sun wants to sort of, look at the big picture, because that's what the Sun does. Standing there in the center of the solar system, it wants to look at everything, his whole realm, and be like, okay, this is my land, and let's see what I rule. This is my kingdom. Now, he wants to go out there, he wants to make things happen. He has set things in motion, and he's watching this. This is ambition. Sun is also exalted in Aries. Aries is fire, Sun is fury. The elemental connection is strong. And here the Sun has that ability, the rank. There's the clarity of vision. There is the new path, the solution, the forward movement, the initiative, the creative energy has really, really taken hold. Sun loves this spot right at the top, looking at the world below, surveying his realm, if you will. But then what happens in Gemini, right? Again, this is the sign of dual thoughts. And Sun comes here blazing in his clarity, saying, I know everything, right? I have the clarity. And then Gemini comes in and distorts it all. The duality, the perspectives, the difference, and the consistent analysis that comes with it. Really, there is something called shining too bright, right? Sometimes the sun, even with the sun, right, like the brightness needs to be just right. It can't be too bright, it can't be too dim. And here we do see that the Rider Waite image, it is dark of the night, but it is actually the sunrise. So it's like just before dawn. The sun is there. The clarity is just, it has adjusted here, because these extra, these 10 swords, these two different perspectives, multiple painful perspectives have become too much, and they have created that darkness. But the sun is still pushing through, trying to come up and say, hey, look, 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 I do have some clarity here. And at the 10 of swords, it reaches that sort of height, right? So there is that mental pain, there is that different, the real, you know, like the understanding also within that pain, but also the complete loss, the complete exhaustion, the complete just breakdown of everything, right? Even in the Marseille Tarot, these two swords are trying to break through this sort of enclosure, and it's hard because they're also fighting against each other. See, so it's, and here too we see this layout which kind of resembles the tree of life, and everything is breaking down. It's painful. It's loss. It's anger. So the sun's extra bright clarity is in the land of Gemini, might actually sometimes, like, if it's too dark, it can bring the sigh of relief and insight in that painful cluster of perspectives. And at some places, it can be all bright and really, really create more, just, you know, burn everything down, and just like, ugh, breakdown of thought processes, right? So finally, in Virgo, which is an earth sign, earth seems to be giving people something stable and solid. Now sun also, with all that clarity, you know, with all this painful perspective that it has gained, sun decides, okay, I'm gonna sit down and do something and improve myself. I'm gonna organize my thoughts, I'm gonna organize my things, I'm gonna sit down and sort of, you know, grow something, do something. I'm gonna just, you know, for a second there, I do not want to think, I do not want to feel, I just want to do something. I want to make something tangibly and real. And so, you know, improvement of skills happens. There is the you know, growth and harvest that happens. There is the organization that happens. There's a structured restructuring. You know, everything gets organized, and you know, you finally find your balance, if you will. And then what happens is, in, you know, Scorpio happens. Well, Scorpio, the murky depths of Scorpio invite the sun to sort of, you know, shine a light in that dark space. And you know, you go through your past, you look at the patterns there, you look at the happy memories there, you look at sad memories there, and you look at what grew out of them, right? You look at the sort of the nostalgic uh, flashback, but you also learn something. Sun is there to have that clarity and learn that clarity in that depth, right? And so here in the Marseille, you see there is the harmony. It finds that balance. It reconnects to its traditions, right? And here we see the sort of reawakening of joy and pleasure, right? It starts to embrace and enjoy what it has built and created, but also what it has learned along the way. Ten of Swords was a hard lesson, man. And so with that lesson, it says, okay, in the Four of Pentacles, again, Pentacles, right? It will say, let's consolidate, let's bring it all together. He holds it all in one place, and he structures it in a way that brings security. He is the Sun King after all, and he wants to build a fortress around him to keep himself safe. He has gone through this experience of the Ten of Swords. He does not want to do that again. And so he builds that fort, and he consolidates it all his things, and he holds them together close. And he's like, now I'm safe. Safe in my little fort, right? So this is the journey of the sun in this Decan Walk, is where the sun had initially the sort of the clear vision and that sense of adventure in the Three of Wands, but when, after undergoing that really traumatic experience of the Ten of Swords, he's like, nope, the transformation happens when he really puts things together and does something sort of tangible. It's like therapy, but hands on, making something, doing something, craft therapy, art therapy, or healing himself through work therapy. And then the sun also looks at the past patterns, the good and bad, and sort of finds the balance, finds the harmony, and then finally says, well, I'm the king. I gotta consolidate and I gotta build my fort and make it strong. And so that's what he does. Now it's interesting, I just realized we have two pentacles cards here, and then we have the wands, the swords, the cups. One swords, cups, and then two pentacle cards. Right? Let's quickly go back to the previous slide. Here, what do we have? We have wands, we have cups, we have swords, and we have pentacles. But what is repeated? We have two wands and two cups. Wow. Okay. Suits repeating. See the repeating patterns, my friends. Patterns are everything. We have 2 and 7, 9, 3, 10. I don't know about the number patterns, but I'm seeing suits here. We have two wands and two cups and one sword, one pentacle, right? And here in sun we get wands, cups, swords, and then two pentacles. Okay, right? Then moving on, we come to Venus. Oh, Venus, right? She's beauty. She's that earth energy, but yes, but Venus is all about luxury and beauty and 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 comfort. It is what we chase, really. It's what we want in our life, in a way. It's all the lovely energy that we bring. And here in the tarot, Venus is associated with the Empress card. So we see the motherly energy, the nourishment, the nurturing, the creation, the creativity, right? The queen, the empress, all of it. And what happens? Where in the journey, like in the Decan Walk, where does Venus show up? She shows up in Aries, in Cancer, in Virgo, in Scorpio, and in Aquarius. Okay. Interestingly, she's in detriment in Aries, in fall in Virgo, and in detriment in Scorpio. There is not a single decan where she is exalted or ruling. She's just kind of in, three bad spots out of five, and two are like not good, not bad. So kind of nice. It's wild, right? Venus does not find happiness here. Really, she's not comfortable in any of these places. In these decans, but she still seems to be, doing a good job of bringing something there, right? So let's look at her journey. So what happens to Venus? Venus is about abundance, fulfillment, comfort. That's those are the keywords, right? In Aries, she's in detriment. So the Four of Wands, where she shows up, Venus in Aries, well, it is a nice celebrations card, party card, all of it, but the Aries ambition is there, the Aries drive is there, and well, Picatrix is talking about Cupid's arrow, and right away it shows the marriage happening. The Marseille talks about sort of the suppressed energy, a temporary rest energy, with four wands balancing, and in the thought we see harmony, sexual fulfillment. Sure, we do see all these happy cards, but wait a minute, Venus is in detriment here. She brings the fulfillment, she brings the abundance, she brings the joy, but she is weak here. She cannot be 100% herself in the realm of Aries, which is all about ambition and identity, because Venus is about harmony. Venus is about coming together and making it beautiful, all of us, for all of us, and with all of us. Whereas Aries is very, very ambitious. So that is the energy here. So even as we see this beautiful sort of four of wedding, four four of weddings, four of wands, celebration and wedding. It's like, well, he's showing off his wife, maybe like a trophy, and she doesn't appreciate it because she's not just a trophy, right? Here we have this Cupid's arrow and ensnarement and compulsion energy happening, and well, she wants her consent to be on record, otherwise she's not having it. But who asked her? Nobody asked her. Right? And here too, in you see that detriment energy here, because this four is talking about suppressed energy, right? So here there is a lot that can happen, but it's being suppressed. That creativity is held at bay with this overly masculine passion of four of wands. And similarly, in this, there's a wheel, it's going in the thought, right? And so while Venus does bring that joyful vibe, that fulfillment and abundance, Aries is like, still, let's go, let's go, let's go. There's that, driving her up the wall, if you will. So with that energy, Venus moves forward in Cancer. Well, thankfully, there's no positive, negative energy here, no exaltation or ruling or exaltation or any of that. So Venus can breathe a little bit in Cancer. It's a water sign. Venus is earthy, which is, the compatible. And you see that compatibility play out. Cancer is all about nourishment and comfort and protection. So after that whole, you're my trophy kind of vibe, uh, in Cancer, Venus gets that protection, that comfort that she wanted, and she can all then she enhances it. She's like, oh, I'm nourished here, let me make it beautiful. And so here there is that actual genuine connection that is formed, where here there was that whole, you're my trophy wife. Here she's like, nope, I'm your equal, and we will feel these things together. We are on board. This is a team. This is not a one-way traffic. And you see that happen. There is everywhere you see this. They explore with Venus here. There is that exploration. Like, she facilitates that. She makes it happen. She's like, you have to connect on an emotional plane, right? Here there's always this partnership, this alliance, the collaboration, and the reconciliation happens. So this is where the consent happens, if you ask me. Right? And then what happens is the earth sign, Pentacles, comes in, Virgo, right? Venus really goes to work here, but she's in fall. So we see a slightly, well, not positive face of Venus here. Venus gets ambitious in Virgo because of the very analytical and the very sort of, diligent energy of Virgo. And Virgo is also earthy, so it's very, very material and practical. Venus goes to work. She's like, okay, let's make things abundant, let's make it comfortable, let's make it, happen. And she, so instead of just feeling her way, she's actually, looking at the books of accounts and doing that sort of thing. So she's truly enjoying that energy of Virgo here, even, in a not so very good way. It's supposed to be in her fall, but she's like, she gets ambitious. And her ambition shows in actual things, right? So you see this energy in the Nine of Pentacles. You see this in your you have the financial gains happening. You have the material resources solidifying. You have the, ambition sort of materializing into something solid. So yeah, even though Venus is in fall, you kind of look at the picture and like, not bad, but well, Venus is in fall. She's not ambitious per se. She's all about creating and nourishing. But here she's just like, I'm gonna go after this. I'm gonna chase this down. She gets ambitious. She uses her Virgo discernment and analytical ability to full potential. And so when she goes in Scorpio, in the Seven of Cups, she's again in detriment. she's not comfortable. Although water and earth are elementally comfortable, in the depths of the murky depths of Scorpio, she has to face that energy of her ambition, I guess, right? Here in the Seven of Cups, she looks at that ambition and she's like, oh my God, like, was I chasing all these things? Is this what I want? Is this truly what I want? Right? In the Seven of Cups, she really looks at all of the things that she has probably chased and acquired in the previous card. She's looking at them here and she's like, am I just, is that all that I'm all about? Just chasing down the ambition? Ugh, right? Look at that. She's like, no, right? She looks at that dark ambition and she's probably not very pleased with herself, right? She's confronting her desires and fears. Mm. In Marseille, also, you see this, she's integrating, she oh wow, so this is individual integrating into a group, right? So she's trying to find her place, I guess, amongst others like her in there, and she's like, I'm not necessarily thinking this is where I belong, this is not who I am. Oh, she's getting uncomfortable with seeing herself that way, right? And she could go in the negative territory with addictions and other temptations. So she's acting out, perhaps, even. Oh, no, right? Venus goes really down a very dark path here. And yeah, avoiding facing her truth, if you will. And so in Aquarius, where air sign, she has to, air and earth are elementally not really very compatible at all. But then Aquarius forces her to look at those patterns, those cycles, and what has she's, gone through up and down, her positive and her negative, all of it. She has to look at it straight up and face it. And well, there are two aspects here. One is the aspect of defeat and failure, and she accepts where she has fallen, right? She accepts where she gave up. She accepts where she went against her own principles and stuff like that. But then she also stands up for what she believes in. The parts that are true, she will stand up for that. She will, stand up for what she believes in and defeat the others who are trying to push her into a certain bracket or stereotype. She's not going to do that, right? This card has a mental vibe to it, but this is the cleansing I think Venus needed, where she could say, okay, this is where I went wrong, and this is what I'm going to do to make it right. And these are things that I believe, and I'm going to stand by them come what may. I'm not going to give up and walk away from this. And so she's going to push through this and go beyond that little stereotype and clear the air and be like, okay, now I'm going to make sense. She's basically, this is a very interesting exploration of Venus, where at first she's weak, she's only an object of value on some level. Her true value only shows up when she's nourished and cherished, and she then gives her best. Even in her fall, she, I guess, would, gets very super ambitious and materializes a lot of gains, right? But then she confronts her depths in different ways. She faces them, she avoids them, she, lapses into the dark and all of it. But then in Aquarius, in the Five of Swords, she stands up and looks at herself very clearly, the good and the bad, and chooses her path very carefully. And she chooses a path that aligns with who and what she is. That's how I'm seeing that journey. Wow. Okay. So then, next up, Mercury. Ooh. Wow. So, Mercury in our tarot is the magician. And the magician is all about control and making things happen. But Mercury is also about communication. Mercury is about expression. It's about movement, travel, marketing. So Mercury, again, the psychopomp going through all the realms. Mercury is also about the sleight of hand. So all these different shades of Mercury, we do see all of them show up in the magician cards, and we have all those energies there in Mercury showing up in these different decans. We have Mercury in Taurus in Five of Pentacles, Mercury in Cancer in Three of Cups, Mercury in Virgo in Ten of Pentacles, Mercury in Sagittarius in Eight of Wands, and Mercury in Aquarius in the Six of Swords. So that's the journey of Mercury. So what happens? Five of Pentacles. This is the tough one, right? Everybody hates this card. Everybody doesn't, nobody wants to have them in this in their reading. Like, oh no, I don't want to go through the Five of Pentacles. It's about, five is the number of changes, discomfort, changes that create discomfort. And here in the Five of Pentacles, this is a discomfort that shows up in the material world. Hang on, before we go on that journey, oops, sorry. Here, Venus, we had wands, cups, swords, pentacles, but we had two cups here, two cups. Okay, that's the pattern. Two cups. Feelings, the good and the not so good, the comfort and the depths. Okay. So yeah, Mercury again. We have two pentacles, wands, cups, swords, and two pentacles. Okay. Well, Mercury is the marketing guy. But then, okay, let's come back. We have this difficult, difficult hardship, right? The five bringing the difficult changes, the discomfort in the material world. So in the Five of Pentacles, we see the actual picture of this hardship, right? And it is in Taurus. Taurus is the sign of discipline and action and nourishment, but this is like sustained efforts will create good results down the line. So this is not like overnight success. This is you gotta this the Taurus is also the very earthy sign, right? Like you have, this is the field where you have to plant, you have to first plow the field, plant your seeds, watch them grow, nourish them, and then eventually harvest them. So it's like a whole cycle that you're going to go through. And in that cycle, there will be times where, you will face hardships. And this is where the story of Mercury begins, going through a very difficult time, going through changes in the material resources, starting out with a very difficult task ahead, right? The fields are still waiting. You are building and plowing and sowing. You're just starting the journey. You haven't harvested yet, right? Your stable patterns are, well, disrupted, and you're facing all sorts of setbacks and hardship. And you probably only get help from other people who are equally probably in different, similar states as you. So the institutions don't come in to help. Nobody's helping you. So that's where you are at, right at the start. Mercury begins this journey in a difficult spot. But if Mercury can't get you out of this hardship, really nobody can, because Mercury is all about communication. He's the hustler. He's gonna make it happen. He has what it takes to make it happen. He looks at all of this and he's like, nah, this won't do. In the next card, he is in Three of Cups. So off he goes to network. Mercury is in Cancer. And in Cancer, he's out here connecting with like minded people, maybe gathering all the necessary resources he requires for the harvest. He is forming bonds. He's doing all he can to connect and sort of manifest things in, using his ability to connect, to communicate. He is marketing. He is going there and he's doing it. He is, connecting with his network. He's forming something new. As a result, he's finding partners. Perhaps he's finding, joy, and he is helping nourish this field, right? He is bringing the water there, right? He's not going to just sit idly by. Mercury, as I said, is the hustler. He has to make it happen. And so, using his network, using his connections, and using these alliances that he has created in the Three of Cups, he goes into Virgo, which is the sign of analysis, of diligence. And there you see Mercury is also the ruler of Virgo, and Mercury is also exalted in Virgo. So there's obviously the 10 of Pentacles. 10 is obviously you're pushing everything, you're expanding on the culmination of the 9. And here, this is one of those happy 10s where you see the family, the happy family, the financially well to do family. This is the legacy that was created with the trade that this old man did, right? And he's built it from the ground up all the way. You see the tree of life, right? You see this energy here as well in all of these cards. Even in the thought, you see the tree of life. You have solid success, wealth, you have abundance, you have stability, you have material success, something solid grows. So you even in the Marseille, I love this, you have these sort of two blocks of fives. So this discomfort, right? He has solidified that, and he remembers that those are his beginnings, but then he creates this beautiful flower. He makes it happen. He has, here is the, you see this again, the seed of life, the Kabbalah thing, the drawing. You have all this going on here. You have material satisfaction, material happiness, and you also have legacy. So this Mercury, which began, his journey in hardship, went out there, networked hard, and in Virgo, he made it happen, and he built that legacy for generations, and he's happy there. He's like, okay, I made it happen, right? Mercury loves that. And then in Sagittarius, Mercury went off on his adventure because, well, once you have all that you could accomplish in the material world, you are going to go off on the very philosophical adventure that Sagittarius is all about. Like, Sagittarius is all about philosophy, beliefs, exploration, adventure. And so he went off on that adventure, and he found, oh wow, he found so much. He is, well, the Mercury energy is just everywhere, isn't it? And interestingly, Mercury is in detriment here. So he's supposed to be weak. In fall, he's going on the negative, but here he's weak. And even the weak Mercury manifests so much. There's the Eight of Wands, there's just everything is happening here. Things are moving. Philosophy is expanding, and interests are expanding. Things he's exploring, he's growing. We have, in the Marseille, we get advancement only by following the rules. So Mercury has to follow the rules here, and that, I guess, that's the detriment part. You can see that here. And even though he wants to just go and sort of explore everything, Mercury is also about communication and knowledge and understanding and expression. He wants to basically do and see and make everything. That's his true nature. He wants to express it, but he's, within that detriment, he's in control somewhere. And 8 is also all about that structure, right? So yeah, he has to work within that structure, but he still has enough room to explore in the Sagittarian spaces. And then, of course, in the Six of Swords in Aquarius, Mercury is like, finally, right? From the 8, he finds the harmony of the 6. He's like, okay. This card is called science, right? This is about insight. This is about objectivity and innovation. Now, all that he has learned here, he will put it to use. He will use the very, very Aquarian energy of patterns and thoughts. And Mercury is all about patterns and thoughts, right? And the collective. And he's going to apply that, right? He's going to use his intelligence in a very intelligent way. In the Six of Swords, he is, moving forward and translating all that he has experienced into something solid, tangible. Here he studied other philosophies. Now he's probably going to make his own. Here he is, really, really, the mercurial vibe of, the kind of travel. This is the sun's barge, isn't it? He is moving forward there. He is bringing his philosophy to the world. This is also Tiferet of Tiferet. He is truly bringing that philosophy into the world. All that he has learned, but in as a system of harmony, as a system of clarity, as a system of science, insight, perception. Right? He's harmoniously generating this growth within this space, and it is beautiful. It is perfect. It is amazing. So, this is the journey of Mercury, where he starts with hardship, networks hard, builds his legacy in the real world so his and other generations below him will sustain it. Then he goes off on his adventure, exploring different things, philosophies and ideas and beliefs. And then he comes back and sort of consolidates and creates his own from a mixture of what he's learned before and then some. And it's very perfect. It's absolutely brilliant and insightful. So that is Mercury for you in the Decan Walk. So again, two pentacles, wands, cups, swords, and two pentacles. All right, so the next is your moon. Wow, moon again in the tarot is the high priestess. And well, the high priestess is like a very powerful card. According to me, the most powerful card in the whole entire tarot deck. But the moon essentially is very feminine, is very changeable, is all about emotions and intuitions, right? It's about empathy and magnetism. So in which cards, which decans does the moon show up? We see it in Taurus, in Six of Pentacles, in Four of Cups, in Cancer, in Two of Swords, in Libra, in Sagittarius, in Nine of Wands, and in Aquarius, in Seven of Swords. So that's where the moon shows up. So what is the journey of the moon? Here in the moon, right? The journey begins with the Six of Pentacles. Six is harmony, but Six in Pentacles is also financial harmony and balance and material harmony and balance. And here we see the merchant sort of, giving money to these beggars. And he's also maintaining his balance, right? He's manifesting satisfaction. That's what I gave for the Decan. Here, moon is exalted in Taurus. Remember that also. So, moon is at its best, starting its journey right off the gate. Moon is at its best. He's exalted. Moon is like, okay, And in Taurus, he loves to give and share his benefits, his material happiness, his material wealth, right? In the steady energy of Taurus, right? And so in your Six of Pentacles, you will see success. There is the harmonious material gain, there is teamwork, there is stability of resources, we see dynamic expansion, we see rewards, we see growth, right? The harvest is now actually growing. We see that manifesting in tangible ways. So yeah, moon is happy here. Moon starts the journey really, really happily in a very good energy. Moon is like, yeah, I'm here. I'm here to sort of share my gifts to the world. And then moving into Cancer, where moon rules Cancer. So moon is again in a good space. But here in the Four of Cups, emotional stability, right? Cancer is a water sign. So there is an emotional stability that one is seeking, and one may even find it in some spaces, your family, right? Cancer is about family, Cancer is about nourishment, and you will find that. But then, it can also become a little too much. And being the ruler and moon being at home there, what happens is I think in Four of Cups, through these different card images, you can see moon can experience both sides of the story. In some spaces, it's enjoying the comfort of that family or that environment that it is in, right? And in some spaces, moon is like, nope, it becomes listless and dull. Procrastination takes over, boredom takes over. And then moon is like, nope, I gotta go. Can't stay. So then moon moves into Libra, where interestingly, an air sign, uh, it's not in a good place or a bad place. There's no, negative or positive dignity here. So moon is like, okay, Libra is about balance. Libra is about beauty and aesthetics, and moon can find its space there. Moon can find itself sort of saying, okay, I can be here. Moon is about intuition and empathy and understanding, and moon likes that, the beautiful balance of and the beauty based balance of Libra. And so in the Two of Swords, moon is sort of intuitively nudging this person to make a choice that is the right and balanced choice, right? But moon also, can add to the confusion a little bit, because why not? Yeah, in the Two of Swords, you can see choices, options, decisions, boundaries, duality, separation, balance, all of the different angles of about choosing and deciding and balancing of opposing or different thought processes. The moon sort of nudges you to make the right choice that will resonate with you there. It is in Libra. So you do that, you use this energy of so that the Libra sort of search of aesthetic balance, and you try to find the right way forward. Then in the Sagittarian world of philosophies and exploring the ideas and whatnot, Moon is saying, okay, Moon is sort of exploring its own emotional perspectives, perhaps. And so in the Nine of Wands, where, Moon is perhaps saying, hey, maybe you need to protect yourself too, right? You need to protect your emotional space. Maybe a boundary. How about a boundary? Right? Here, in the Nine of Wands, here it is also, moon is sort of, bringing in strength, trust in one's abilities. It is it could be creating, a change in sort of the established order of things. It is asking you to look at sort of this, go into that space which is scary, but protect yourself, wear your armor, and then go there. Like, you want to go, you want to face it down, sure. But, the moon gives you the necessary sort of intuitive and emotional sort of insight to protect yourself no matter where you head out to. Right? And moon 9 is about culminating that journey in a way. So we have that. And then finally, in Aquarius, in the Seven of Swords, moon is like, oh my God, now we see a very different side of the moon. Now, it's not in detriment or in the fall here in Aquarius, but moon's intuitive, changeable insight and understanding and all of that. And in Aquarius, where, we have the collective thoughts and patterns and whatnot. It's a very weird mixture. So in the Seven of Swords, we see the con man, the cheater, the opportunist, the person who will take advantage of the situation, the strategic advantage, the fox vibe really. And this person takes advantage, right? We see this in the futility part. We see the deception, the waste of, using thoughts in a way, thinking yourself or considering yourself as one being very strategic, one being very smart, and sort of taking advantage of the situation. But it's a waste, because maybe you don't need to do that. Or maybe you will harm yourself if you do that. And here too, you see this energy. You're trying to use that moon energy of will against the collective sort of patterns, and try to go break those patterns or try to go against that pattern and unnecessarily try to show off something which nobody asked you to. Nobody really wanted that. And ultimately it will not give you the results. It'll fail, or you'll hurt yourself carrying those swords that way, right? So yeah, Moon gets overconfident maybe after the Nine of Wands, you could say that. So this is the story of the moon through the Decans, where in the Six of Pentacles it starts out very nice, very comfortable, very cozy, and happy, sort of rich with resources. But then in the Four of Cups, it's in its own sign and therefore embraces the comfort and sort of connection that comes from friends, family, and everywhere. But then it also faces down the boredom, the frustration, the stagnation, and it's like, nope, I don't want to stay here anymore. In the balanced air sign of Libra, it has to make a choice. It has to decide the balanced choice, the right choice. And intuitively, it will listen to its inner sort of, vibe, but it has to find a choice that will be agreeable to everybody, which is a very difficult thing to do. Also balanced, beautiful. So the Nine of Wands, where it has the whole adventurous philosophy vibe, it finds a sort of a space of strength even, and it says, okay, boundaries, protect yourself, go have your adventure, but protect yourself, put boundaries. That is going to help you. And so with that overconfidence, it enters a Aquarius, and it's like, oh, I can do whatever I want, and it does the dumbest, stupidest things, and ends up making a fool of itself, ends up getting away with it probably for a little bit, and it ends up really, wasting all that intuition and in futile, things which not required. Don't be shady. Right? But the moon, that's the darker side of the moon, if you will. Thankfully, it's not in fall. Otherwise, oh my God. Yeah. So you see that energy here. That's the journey of the moon in the Decan Walk. Next up, we have Saturn. Oof, Saturn. Saturn. Well, in the tarot, Saturn is shown up in the world card. And well, the world card looks very nice and happy, and it's all about success and coming full circle and accomplishing what you wanted to accomplish and so on and so forth. But it is also about following strict rules. There is always that restriction, there's always that circle, there's always that limitation that Saturn carries with it. Saturn is also all about sort of creating a karmic balance. So whatever you do with Saturn, there's always karmic balance. So if Saturn brings you hardship, it is because it wants to balance the scale somewhere. And if Saturn brings you, the restrictions, it is so that you do not create further problems karmically for yourself. So it's all that rules and restrictions and limitations, right? Structures, karma. That is Saturn, right? So even though the very beautiful, happy world card picture is there, we are going to also look at the very Saturn energy as it shows up in Taurus in Seven of Pentacles. Then in Saturn is in Leo, and interestingly, it's in detriment here. In Libra, Saturn is exalted in the Three of Swords, then in the Ten of Wands in Sagittarius, and finally in Eight of Cups in Pisces. So this is going to be the journey of Saturn through our decans. First up in Taurus, right? Taurus, again, very steady sign, very stable sign, likes the discipline, likes the sustained efforts. Very, I think Saturn would be very aligned here, because Saturn also likes that structure and the steadiness that Taurus is all about. But what do we see here? We see in the Thoth and in the Telos, we see a very sort of grim picture. The keyword is failure, right? We see decay, loss. We see misery and all of that. What's happening here? Whereas in the Radawait and in the Marseille, we have a very different picture. We have something, patience and patient. This guy is patiently grown his crops and fruits, right? Here in the Marseille, we have the stable energy of the four, and then the creative, dynamic sort of energy of the three on top. But we see this dynamic creativity is a little subdued, but it's there, right? What's happening? What's the energy here? This is about, and again, you have to embrace the energy of seven where you're testing your limitations. Actually, this energy of Seven of Pentacles, Saturn and Taurus, is all about efforts versus rewards. Okay. How much effort is too much effort? Do you need to put in all that kind of effort? And if you put in extra effort, will you get extra rewards? Sometimes no, because in Taurus, you will only get what you're going to get. You've only planted so many seeds, so you're only going to get so much harvest. Maybe less if things get spoiled and wasted, but you're not going to get more. Suddenly more trees are not going to get spring up if you haven't planted the seeds. But then Saturn can really wear themselves down expecting something, and you can create that sort of decay there. Even this, the way these are sort of arranged, it's a geomantic thing, and it spells failure. Now, it is a difficult space here for Saturn in Taurus, because Saturn likes steadiness, but Taurus is extra steady, and that too much steadiness makes the slow Saturn even slower, right? And Saturn could maybe go in a space where it gets a little lazy, and that could create the ruin, the decay, the loss. Okay. So you do see that. You see both shades, right? You see sustained, stable efforts bringing good results, but you also see that somewhere this creativity needs to be controlled. You can't just go all out. So you have to manage that effort and result, because Taurus doesn't allow you to go all out like that. And then when you get too lazy, it can create losses. Okay. But this is where Saturn starts his journey. Then in Leo, which is the fiery sign, the earthy Saturn is not a, well, it's in detriment, so it can't completely be itself there. And Leo again is all about kings, rulers, what have you. We have every energy of leadership and creation, and so we see this chaos. Everybody wants to create here. All these five people have their own wants. There's a conflict there. And Saturn wants the structure, but Leo wants to create. Leo wants to rule. And Saturn just wants to, put the structure happen and build something within its limits. And Leo is like, no, there are no limits. I'm a king. I'm going to go conquer. And so in that clash, in that chaos, where Saturn is in detriment and therefore weak and can't completely establish that structure, we see bravery and chaos together. We see passions and persistence tussle with each other. We see a stalemate and the energy to overcome it. We see aggression and ambition and competition, and we see victory and strength. So the sort of good energies of Leo do push forward, and Saturn is there just to sort of hold the rein a little bit, perhaps, like doesn't allow the king to become a mad despot. I would say that's what happens with Saturn and Leo. Hmm? But then Saturn goes into Libra, where it is exalted. But oh my God, what do we see here? We have the Three of Swords, right? Like Saturn is, poor thing, is getting a bad rep. But whatever it is what's happening. Libra being the sign of balance and justice and beauty. Saturn is there to bring that balanced perspective, create structure in that beauty. Now, beauty is its own thing, and well, symmetry is a fundamental principle of beauty. But Saturn, with its restrictions and structures, And Libra with its balance and beauty and all of that, they align. They are exalted. But in the Three of Swords, they try to find the balanced perspective, right? Where you have these two swords going in different directions, seeking that balance. The third option is found, and you are looking at something that is neither this nor that, and it is not really something that aligns with anybody. It's a mental alignment, but not like feeling based alignment, right? We have, heartache, loss, betrayal. But then in the Three of Swords, you see this becomes a victory, a breakthrough. You are overcoming weak opposition, right? The sword then gets all these beautiful flowers here. But then that same similar picture in the Thoth becomes bad news, sorrow, loss, disappointment, and failure, right? We see this pain here. I would say in a balanced way, Saturn in Libra, it's exalted, but we do see a painful realization, an enduring realization, a painful breakthrough. So, something beautiful that does happen, something balanced does happen, but then Saturn brings the pain of it. Libra is the balance of it, and Saturn is the harsh, sort of, structural reorganization energy there, saying, hey, this is how it is. And it is correct, but it is balanced, but it is, it can be a breakthrough and a victory, but it is not without its pain, right? And carries that burden into Sagittarius, because obviously Sagittarius is about philosophies and beliefs, and so all that it has learned, it carries it there, all that burden, and it's like overburdening itself with too many things, ideas, philosophies, and beliefs. It's carried its own beliefs there. So it's hard for Saturn and Sagittarius to explore more because it's already carrying a lot of preconceived beliefs with it. Makes it hard, makes it a burden, right? And because of that, he cannot explore more here, right? And even here, you see there is oppression, there's overwork, there's a lot of frustrating energy. Then also, as it stands, is where it's, pulling things forward, it's taking things extra. It's one of those difficult cards, difficult tens. And here in the Ten of Wands, Saturn is burdening uh the space. Unfortunately, it is, well, it can be a joyful burden if you want to see it that way, but it is in the tarot images, it's just a lot of burdens. So it's not allowing a new philosophy to sort of shine through because it's carried its own preconceived philosophies with it. And so ultimately in Pisces, where everything dissolves, and eight is calling for a restructure and a reorganization of everything anyways, Saturn says, you know what? You're right. Let me just stack it all up and let it melt away, and let me just go be by myself alone and figure this out. So Saturn does that. Saturn walks away. Right here in the eight of the Thoth, it's called indolence. It's completely, the hopes are broken, there's stagnation, there's depression, right? Here it does connect, but also finds, like, sort of separately connects. It's creating its own space, even in the crowd, even amongst others. In the group, it is still finding its own little corner. Here it just melts away. So the journey of Saturn, right? You see, we have wands, we have cups, we have swords, and we have pentacles, and I believe two wands. Two wands. So, what happens with Saturn? The planet of karma, the planet of restrictions, planet of structures. In Taurus, it struggles. It could become extremely lazy with the steadiness of everything, and it could, it could, or it does deliver, but in a very measured quantity. The seven just struggles with limitations, and Saturn and Taurus can't find its footing, really, truly. In Leo, Saturn finally, it's in detriment, but it can just sort of breathe maybe a little bit, because it's the sign of the king, and the king wants to rule, and Saturn wants to say, hey, you can rule, but you can do it a certain way, do it properly. And there is the chaos of that struggle, there is the aggression, the competition, the breaking of the stalemate, if you will, but you want to push through. There is victory, of course, but it is within reason. So, and Saturn is in detriment. So, the Leo is able to, that Leo energy is able to manifest a certain amount of creative victory and aggression, but Saturn still holds it in check. So it's a good thing in a way. But then with that sort of, expanded sort of space to breathe, like, okay, I can do whatever I want, it goes into the balance and aesthetic space of Libra, where it's looking at all the thought patterns which go in different directions and says, no, we must reconcile, we must bring this balance, and we must structure this, and we must create this. And while on some level it can be seen as a victory and a breakthrough, on another level it is a painful thing, because it's very mental, it's very visual even, but it doesn't align with feelings, and it creates sorrow and hardships with that. And the burden of all of this, all the good and the bad and everything in between, it carries these philosophies and beliefs with it into Sagittarius in the Ten of Wands, and it's that heavy burden doesn't allow it to look elsewhere, to explore anything else. Everything is burden, and you can overcome this, you can push past this, but it's frustrating. And that's when Saturn realizes, this can't do, I have to, even if Saturn wants to be Saturn, it needs to do it in a better way. And so, all the good and the bad, everything, he wants to let it melt in Pisces. And Saturn is like, just let it melt. Let it melt. Let all the things melt. I will find my own space again one day. And Saturn's story in the Deccan. Kind of saying that this is not how I want to be, right? I'm walking away from this all. I'm detaching, which is again a very Saturnine trait in and of itself. Okay, all right. So Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of abundance. It's the planet of expansion. It is a planet that brings, the energy of beliefs, education, and in our tarot, it is associated with the card of Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune, again, as you can see the wheel expanding as it sort of grows bigger and bigger, but it talks about cause and effect. It talks about, uh, you know, uh, actions and their consequences. In this sort of realm, it talks about the cycle of life, whether it is on a very everyday mundane level, or whether it is, as it grows higher and higher on the spiritual level, where your good deeds are rewarded with good consequences, and your bad deeds are rewarded with, well, not so good consequences. And so everything is a result of that karma, and your actions and consequences have connections that way. And so that is part of pretty much every belief system, if you go to see. So it kind of ties in with this, but it does also then bring, so the cycles of expansion are the result, and the cycles of abundance are therefore the result of your good deeds, and the cycles of, well, contraction and negative consequences are obviously the result of your negative deeds. That's the whole sort of system that it runs on. And now, in that space, Jupiter shows up through these 5 decans. First being Gemini, where it shows up in the Eight of Swords. Then in Leo, it shows up in the Six of Wands. In Libra, it shows up in the Four of Swords. In Capricorn, in the Two of Pentacles. And finally, Nine of Cups, it shows up in Pisces. Now, through this journey, Jupiter will, we'll see how Jupiter sort of, responds and reacts to these environments, if you will, through the images of the cards. So, first off, in Gemini, it is in detriment. Now, elementally, it is maybe aligned, you could say, because Jupiter is elementally connected with fire. Gemini's air, fire and air are very elementally aligned, but astrologically, Jupiter is in detriment in Gemini. And Gemini is all about duality, perspectives, connections, communications, different perspectives that are constantly analyzed endlessly, if you will. So, with that energy of abundance and expansion, it comes into this space where it is not really at its 100%, and then it kind of is in the environment where there's so many different perspectives, there is connections, everything going on, and with its abundance energy, it's trying to expand. It's maybe doesn't expand completely, but doesn't bring that complete abundance, but it does bring some abundance. And so what happens is it unfortunately creates a situation where that negative ish vibe of an endless analysis gets expanded upon. Maybe not a lot, but it does, right? So what we see here is in the Eight of Swords, very classic right away, we have the thoughts creating a sort of an enclosure around this lady, and she's more or less trapped. I mean, her feet are free and all that, but she feels restricted somehow. And although Jupiter is about expansion and belief, it is her beliefs within that Gemini framework that have created that little sort of, fear or that restriction within her, in her own mind, right? And so the blindfold and everything kind of are there to show us that, hey, she's created that spot for herself there. And, that has expanded more and more. Her fears have grown. More she thinks about them, or more she fears them. And you see that energy even here with the swords. Now I know it's not clear, but when you get the PDF, you can make it a little bit bigger, and do the or what you may call it, and you can make it bigger and see for yourself. You can enlarge, that, magnify it. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. Expand. Expand the image. Right? Okay, and here in the Marseille tarot, what we see is just the enclosure. We see four swords creating this very sort of tight enclosure around this little flower in the middle. So it can grow, but not so much, only so much, right? But in the thought, of course, we see all these different swords are sort of, held in that place, creating more chaos, more disruption by these two Gemini swords, right? So willpower is crossed by disruptive influences. And here you have the defense mechanism in place, and it creates a blockage. So what we see here is with that Gemini energy where Jupiter is in detriment, it still does expand the negative aspects of Gemini to some extent. It creates that expansion which creates restrictions within, because again the eight energy of the Eight of Swords has to come into play, right? So that structure is still there. So within that structure, keeps getting sort of squished in, but it does what it does, and it takes that duality of Gemini and it just pushes it up, all over the place. When it's done with that and it lands in Leo, oof, Jupiter probably heaves a sigh of relief. Here is another Fury sign for the Fury planet, and they're like, okay, now once here there is no detriment, no exaltation, so it's fine. And here in Leo, being the sign of kings, and Jupiter, being Zeus in the mythological way, it's like, okay, king is in his sign in a way, if you will. And here he takes charge. He sits on that horse and he leads his team to victory, to success. You can see that, right? It's about successful accomplishment and public triumph, right? Even in your Marseille tarot, you will see this collaboration, alliance, two groups of three wands interconnected and creating these beautiful flowers and stuff. It's manifesting that success here. Even you see this victory success energy manifesting in the thought energy, right? It is beautiful. And even over here in the telos, you'll see that success showing up. So finally, in that space where, you know, 6 brings harmony, and Leo brings the creative energy of the kings, Jupiter is like, oh yeah, I can take charge, I can lead the team, I can make it happen. Let me bring you victory. It gives you the abundance of victory. It gives you, if you're expanding whatever you're expanding, your business, your work, your whatever creative endeavor, it will give you that energy. But after that, again, we have 4 of Swords, where in Libra, it has to still seek balance, right? Here's the gyroscope seeking balance. Here's the 4 of Swords, where he's trying to heal. Because I think from the 8 coming in here in the 4, it's kind of trying to make sense of probably what went through here, if you will, and it's trying to regain his footing, his mental balance, right? Libra is also about finding beauty and balance and aesthetics. And here too, in the enclosure of the swords, now there are only 2 on either side. This flower actually gets, you know, space to sort of grow leaves and stuff. And here in the thought, you see these 4 swords come together. There is a temporary calm before the storm, if you will. So, you know, you come to terms with, you know, after this experience of 8 of Swords and the positive experience of the 6 of Wands, in the 4 of Swords, you're trying to find the balance, the good and the bad, the in positives and the negatives. You're trying to reconcile it all, if you will, and trying to find the sort of beautiful way to make sense of it, if you will, right? And that's the balanced perspectives, the truths of within your heart, within your head. And that's what Jupiter does over here. It tries to, you know, create that belief. It tries to understand what happened. It tries to learn the lesson here. And with that, it goes into the 2 of Pentacles, which is Capricorn. And Capricorn again is about structures. This, even though this is the sign of Saturn, and Saturn and Jupiter are not very friendly, obviously, but here Jupiter is trying to create that expansion again because that's Jupiter's nature. But Capricorn wants to create the structure of it. So it expands it, and Capricorn is like, let's make a structure of it. Then it expands some more and like, let's make a structure of it. And that's the ebb and flow you consistently keep seeing in the lemniscate, you know, of the 2 of Pentacles, where, you know, it's growing, becoming structured, and expanding again and structured. So expansion and contraction is part of the story here, and that's how change happens. That's how change happens in the material structures of, you know, of desire, as it says here. It change in the material structure of life itself, because it is through this ebb and flow that things happen, right? Things move forward. So we see that in the Rider-Waite, that endless juggling, but it is the juggling of material resources that creates that change, that pushes the envelope, if you will. And you see that even in the Marseille, the different the options that are there, the collaboration, the possibilities are being explored, and that change in the thought also with that Ouroboros snake eating its own tail. So we have all that big Jupiter energy of expansion, which sort of tries to collaborate, if you will. Again, 2 2 is about collaboration. It collaborates with the space, or, you know, within Capricorn, and it says, okay, you make a structure, but then I will expand. And you make a structure, and you know, give, when you make a structure, you contract it, but then I will expand again. And that ebb and flow keeps going. And then finally, Jupiter lands in Pisces. It's the traditional ruler of Pisces. It's exalted there, right? And here again, 9 is all about the completion, the culmination, and Pisces is just the sign of, all the delusions and detachment. And, delusions are dissolving, detachment is happening. It's about dissolution. Everything is sort of melting in the watery realm of Pisces. And Jupiter comes in there, and Jupiter's like, hey, this is my space, right? Because here again, where everything is melting, it can expand endlessly. It can figure out, the spiritual, sort of spiritual, energetic sort of dynamics of beliefs. It can play with it. It can create more knowledge for itself. And here again, it's its own sign, so it's exalted. It's doing a good job. So we see Jupiter bringing everything into the flow, right? So Nine of Cups is about the sort of contentment, emotionally, physically, mentally, overall. There's great abundance. It's just like a smug satisfaction, if you will, right? We see, righteousness being rewarded at the end of the day. We see coordination and connection, and everything working well together. We see bliss. We see meaningful experiences. We see all of these beautiful, beautiful Jupiterian, sort of, or should I say Jovian, energies come to play within the watery sort of realm of Pisces, where everything is melting and spreading, that joy, that abundance, that happiness everywhere. So, to summarize, the journey of Jupiter begins with it's struggling within the detrimental, sort of sign of Gemini, trying to make sense of the ever expanding fears created by the dualities and different perspectives. But in Leo, it finds its creative, sort of vibe. It connects with the leadership vibe, and it absolutely delivers the success that it wants to deliver. Back in Libra, it tries to consolidate all of these positives and negatives and really figure out a balanced narrative of it, if you will, and, make peace with everything good and bad, because, Jupiter, it wants to do that. But then in with that knowledge, it goes into the Two of Pentacles, and it's like, okay, let's do this. The ebb and flow of creation, and creating structures with that expansion and contraction, and sort of moving things forward, growing every time, and, in a very structured manner. And that brings it to the Nine of Cups, where it finds absolutely the contentment and the joy and the reward and the connections, and sort of all the beautiful experiences that it has been searching for all along. So these were the stories of the planets as they moved through all the different decans. Now let's look at the stories of the suits and the signs, okay? So here we go. We see all these suits here, and what I've highlighted, if you notice, oh yeah, hang on one second, my bad. I forgot about this. So we have the wands, we have the cups, we have the swords, and we have the pentacles. But we got two swords here. That's the thing, right? Okay. So here in our suit of wands, what I've highlighted is when a planet has appeared again. So in the journey from the Two of Wands to the Ten of Wands, we see Mars show up twice, and we see Saturn show up twice in the suit of wands. Okay, so we have so now we've already kind of run through this, so I'm gonna not linger much. I'm gonna, go through this because it's gonna be, a lot more stories down the line. But pseudo wands, we start with the adventure. We are like, oh, let's go, let's break through, and let's see what the options are. Let's explore our potentials, right? With Mars energy. And then Sun comes in, and Sun is like, all right, let me look at my realm. Let me go, do what I have to do to sort of, set things up. I have the clarity of my vision, and Aries, I'm raring to go. I'm ready to make it happen. But then Venus in Aries is like, okay, let's celebrate what we've created. But again, she's just the sort of decorative beauty there, but she's okay. She knows she'll figure it out. She'll make it happen. And although she's in sort of detriment here, she's like, that's all right, that's all right. That's a good start. Let's figure this out. Let's celebrate, and then we'll go from there. Then Saturn in Leo in the Five of Wands is like, okay, let me do my thing, but it's in detriment. So in Leo, it really can't do much. It tries to bring structure to the chaos of the fives. It tries to make it, somehow manageable, which is interesting. But then in the Six of Wands, we have Jupiter in Leo saying, hey, listen, let's do this, let's make it happen, let's bring my leadership into play, and let's bring this abundance and this expansion, and let's make it happen. So Jupiter really has the ability to gather up and lead everyone into victory. But then we get Mars in Leo in the Seven of Wands. And again, Mars is like, hey, look, I'm going to face all this, because whatever success and abundance came from before, now Mars is like, okay, it looks like all the good stuff you did created a bigger workload for me. Now I have to handle it, and handle it I will. And Mars does that, and Mars really stands their ground and sort of tackles it. But then finally we come to the Eight of Wands, where we have Mercury in Sagittarius. Mercury is in detriment though, but still things are moving, things are flowing. Uh, there is positive energies and positive movements. And so Mercury, even though Mercury wants to make things happen, really, really, grow and express things, he can only do so within a certain restriction or structure of that eight. And there it's learning this, it's spreading and enjoying that philosophical sort of energy there of Sagittarius. And then in the Nine of Wands, we get Moon in Sagittarius. And here the Moon is like, okay, we've been through the ups, we've been through the downs, we have really, really experienced all sorts of struggles. And we now need to be careful. We need to have our boundaries. We need to truly, truly enforce those boundaries. And that's how we're going to find our true strength. But then Saturn comes along in Sagittarius, and it's got this whole burden. A lot of these philosophies, Saturn, unfortunately, cannot truly enjoy the philosophical exploratory energy of Sagittarius, because it's already burdened itself so much, right? It carried that burden from Leo into here, and it's got that burden's double from 5 to 10 now, right? And it's carrying it, and it has become a lot, a lot for it. And so, yeah, poor Saturn can't enjoy the space within Sagittarius. Okay, now let's look at the Suit of Cups, right? Here, Venus comes in the Two of Cups in Cancer, and it's like, okay, this is nice. Right? It's protected, it's loved, it's nurtured. And then Venus is like, listen, we are equals, you and I. We will form this connection on very beautiful, clear terms. And then Mercury is there in the Three of Cups, networking hard in that sort of protected and nourished space of Cancer, connecting, forming connections, making things happen with those connections. And then we have Moon here exalted in Cancer because it rules it. So, he's kind of ensconced in this beautiful space. There's four is stability too. But then what happens, right? There's a good vibe, there's not so good vibe. It creates an emotional stability, but left on that in that space for far too long, that emotional stability can turn into boredom and procrastination and listlessness. Thankfully, Mars comes along, and in Scorpio, Mars really looks at that energy of, what has gone so far, what it has lost, and what it has gained in its journey so far. And Mars truly sort of, feels the feelings. He's the ruler there, but these are murky depths. So it really truly embraces the depths very, very violently, if you will. And so there is that resentment, that hatred, sadness and depression, all of it, because it's uncomfortable in the fives, but it also connects with people like it, and it also embraces that sadness and resentment, and it's like, okay, you know what, that's fine, I'm going to let this passion guide me. So then we have Sun here in Scorpio, kind of shining a light in those depths. And instead of that resentment, what we see is happy memories of the past. The flashback creates a positive, harmonizing experience that kind of makes you feel a little bit happier, not like angrier. But then you go into Seven of Cups, where you have Venus in Scorpio, and Venus is in detriment here. Okay, and there she's truly looking at that depths, and she's looking at the ambition and these desires, and she's like, is this really truly what you want? Yeah, she's she's kind of forcing you to reconsider what your ambitions are. What is it that will truly make you happy? Now, Venus is in detriment here, but so it can't truly sort of make a cozy space there, but it does what it does. It makes you realize that, hey, some parts of this journey are not good. Like you can go into denial, you can get into this space where you give in to all these temptations and deceptions and addictions, or you can find your space amongst the group, if you will. But then it also asks you to confront your many, many desires and fears. And then finally Saturn comes in Pisces, and it's like, well, what have we here? All Everything is melting. So while Saturn has its structures, Saturn in Pisces is like, well, all my structures are melting, what can I do? Right? So it doesn't bother. Just like, I'm not even gonna try. Right? And so it's like, it just disconnects. It embraces the spiritual aspect of Pisces, where you're just detaching and letting go, and it's like, that's fine. Saturn is completely comfortable with that vibe, and it allows all the attachments to melt away. And it sort of connects with people without really connecting. It has that little space in between, and it truly just allows, and the negative or shadow aspect of it probably is the stagnation and the depression, right? But then here comes Jupiter, and Jupiter is quite happy in Pisces because it's truly going to embrace the spiritual energy and the spiritual vibe, and brings expansion here. And so we see the contentment, the result of good, work, consequences, and good work leading to good consequences. And then finally, of course, the 10 of Cups, we have Mars again saying hello. And Mars is like, yeah, look at me. I'm the best, right? You want a happy family? I got the best happy family that you will find. You want, me to be a community leader? I'm the absolute best, topmost community leader out there. You want fulfillment? I will show you the best kind of fulfillment that ever is. Mars wants to truly just basically competing to win, and that's your suit of cups. Okay, then the suit of swords, right? So let's see, we have Moon in Libra, right? Libra is about balance, and Moon comes in with its very intuitive, changeable vibe, and sort of allows you to see both perspectives very, very intuitively, and allows you to create that space to sort of make that decision and sort of embrace that duality, if you will. But then, within reason, you need to also find the next step. But here Saturn comes in Libra, and although it is exalted here, Saturn also brings that very painful sort of balanced reaction and structure between these different perspectives, and whatever it creates, it's painful to a certain extent. It is a breakthrough, but it is painful, and it can cause sometimes even heartbreaking pain. That this is a perspective that will shatter both perspectives, really, right? But then Jupiter comes in after Saturn and like, hey, let's balance this out. It's in Libra and it likes that space there. To an extent, it wants to give it a structure, give it a framework, if you will. That gyroscope, creating that balance, looking for that balance. Where is it parallel to the gravity? The thing of the Earth, right? In that way, it says, okay, even within this, you can grow, you can learn, you can understand, you can make peace with it. But then Venus comes in Aquarius and says, peace? What peace? Right? There's only defeat or success, right? Venus in Aquarius wants to find its footing. Venus wants to find his voice here, right? Venus wants to connect with everybody, with the collective. And Venus, unfortunately, cannot be cozy, comfortable here. In Aquarius, Venus truly has to, allow its thoughts to kind of, and look at the patterns. It needs to understand that. And so we see a very miserable sort of situation. There's conflicts, there's arguments, because within Aquarius, Venus finally finds the space to make its argument, make its stand, if you will. And so it does create that breakthrough push forward. There is defeat, there is betrayal, but there is also, like, within that kind of a conflict, if there's a winner, there's always a loser, and if there's a loser, then there's always a winner. You got to pick which side you want to be on. Honestly, right? And then you have Six of Swords, where you have Mercury in Aquarius. Now, Mercury is quite at home here. It's not exalted, it's not ruling, but it's okay. And in that space of Aquarius, Mercury truly can embrace its expressive, scientific, curious vibe. And it can absolutely tangle with the higher level collective sort of Aquarian thought process, if you will. It's a science. There's perception, insight, objectivity, innovation, and truly finding clarity, Tiferet within Tiferet. And it truly embraces this collective wisdom, if you will, and tries to express it. Mercury is always going to express that wisdom in a very enticing and interesting way. But then Moon happens. Moon comes in Aquarius, and oh well, Moon is going to create a very shady vibe here, right? Moon is going to make this person feel like he can get away with it, but he's hurting himself, right? It is going to create that whole deceptive energy. It's going to allow you to break through that clarity and wisdom of the six, the signs of six. Here you're going to try something shady, and it won't work, unfortunately. There is an element of futility here, because no matter how much you engage with these patterns of the collective, if you're going to bring a very shady vibe, or if you're going to bring in a vibe of the changeable sort of intuitive vibe, what happens with the intuitive energy or the empathic energy of the Moon is it doesn't find its footing truly in the philosophical collective of Aquarius. That's just how it works. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. But then finally, we have Jupiter again in the Eight of Swords in Gemini, where it's like looking at all these different patterns, the different dualities and perspectives, and all these experiences have created fears, and those fears have locked it in, and Jupiter only expands them, unfortunately, which creates again a very restrictive space to be in. Then Mars in Gemini comes in and takes it even to the next step. And it creates that kind of anxiety, that kind of mental torture and cruelty, if you will, that truly it just angrily kind of works on that energy actively, sort of making it even worse, right? And so when you stretch it to the next one where Sun comes into Gemini, and you'll see that, oh my God, that Sun is only going to just light it up and expand it more. Sun is going to add ego into the picture. Sun is going to bring clarity, but after so much pain, right? Sun is going to, I mean, this is where the Sun actually brings you the realistic truth, but only after you have gone through this much suffering. Okay. And Pentacles, right? Well, the story begins with Jupiter in Capricorn. Very nice. We have the whole expansion and contraction vibe. We have the whole, you know, I must expand, but I must also get back into that structure, and then I will expand again. And so finally in Mars, where it's exalted Mars in Capricorn, it's like, fine, this energy, I will put it to use. I will manifest. I will make it happen. I will create the structures that I have been wanting to sort of, that's what I've been fighting for, right? But then Sun comes in the four and says, okay, you know what? I'm the king. This is my kingdom, and I'm going to build me my fortress. I'm going to bring everything, consolidate it around me, build a wall, and I'm going to sit there in the middle, be safe about it, protect myself. So then we have Mercury in Taurus, right? Mercury in Taurus is trying to bring that connection, that communication, that, but vibe, the business like vibe, the expression. But Taurus is slow, Mercury is fast. These energies do not mix so well. So we have resistance, we have friction. And so even here we have the land is still being plowed and the seeds will be sowed. Harvest is still miles away in terms of that timeline. Here too, the stability gets sort of, disrupted. Worry, anxiety, hardship, fear of rejection, all of these show up in various spaces here in the Taurian space, unfortunately. But then we have Moon in Taurus, and Moon is exalted here. And so we get in the Six of Pentacles, we see some success, we see gains, we see some things bearing fruit. We see, this harmony, this harmonious space, starting to show results. Stability grows, but harmoniously, and brings a nice vibe to it. We see success happen. We see beautiful things happen. We receive the help we need. We receive the resources that we need, right? Then Saturn comes in Taurus, and Saturn engages with that energy of Taurus. Well, Saturn and Taurus probably should get along well, but Taurus likes to worry, Saturn likes to worry, and here we go. We have that energy. And sometimes you put in too many rules, sometimes you put in too many restrictions. We see failure here in the thought based card energy here, because we are going to create that ruin, that decay, by either putting in too many rules, too many restrictions, too many ways in which you're going to put in either less or more efforts for really different, not imbalanced rewards, right? Here in the Marseille, we see creativity is there, but it's subdued, right? There's the stable four, and then the three, the creative three, but it's not completely helping this one to manifest. And here in the Seven of Pentacles, again, it's hard work, patience, and all of that, which is nice, but actually this card is also about effort versus reward. How much effort is how much reward, right? Now, with these insights, we see the Sun in Virgo using that analytical space, and the Sun bringing the clarity. And Sun is like, okay, I'm gonna learn a skill and I'm gonna make sure, I'm organized with my resources. Here's the harvest that comes in, right? Here is the structure it is building. Here it's being very, very smart and cautious and in moderation, trying to not, relive the experiences of failure that it has in the past. And then here we have Venus in Virgo. She's in her fall here, and she becomes super ambitious. She uses that analytical energy to grow herself, the resources that she's been wanting. She's been struggling since the five. She's like, here you want all these things you want, what I want, and she's making it happen. She creates her own sort of beautiful life in a way that she's making money, she's got the gains, right? She's using that space to create that comfort and material sort of satisfaction and abundance, if you will. And finally, we have Mercury in Virgo. Mercury rules and Mercury is exalted in Virgo. And so Mercury now takes this sort of, creation from the previous card and it says, all right, let's go. And Mercury uses its mercurial talents to trade, to create, connections and to create the legacy, the family legacy that will then be taken forward. This is solid success. This is wealth. This is abundance. This is all of those lovely things, ideally, that everybody wants to possess on the material realm. So now we see how these stories play out in your suits, right? Now, next up, of course, repeating planet groups. How many people realize that there were groups of planets that sort of got repeated at one go? So, for instance, this is the first group. We have Mars, Sun, and Venus that showed up in Aries and in Scorpio. So, we get the 2, 3, and 4 of Wands in Aries, and 2, 3, 4, I'm sorry, 5, 6, and 7 of Cups. These are in Scorpio. Mars, Sun, Venus, right? So this is the, Mars, Sun, Venus in Aries are, we have the ruler, one is exalted and one is in detriment. And here the adventure begins. And then 3 of wands, you want to slay the dragon, you want to look at your realm. And in 4, you success, so you celebrate your success. But then in Scorpio here, these 3 are just doing something else. Here is that angry Mars energy is turning towards resentment because it's completely, see, this is fire, this is water, these realms are too different. Right? And so here this becomes a deeply emotional anger. And this sun in Scorpio is shedding light and clarity in the patterns of the past, the nostalgic patterns of the past. And Venus here, really truly in Scorpio, it's in its detriment and therefore asks you to confront all the negative desires, all the harsh sort of wants that you have. So we have that vibe. Here's another version. We have Mars in Aries and Mars in Scorpio. It rules both these signs, but in Aries, he's looking for an adventure, and in Scorpio, he's just like, oh, so angry and so upset. Right? Meanwhile, the sun in 3 of Wands in Aries is just like, oh, let me look at my land on the this more outward looking. Here in Scorpio, in 6 of Cups, he's more inward looking, right? He's exalted here, but this is also, not a bad situation here, but he's this more outward, this more inward, right? And Venus here is in detriment in both these places, 4 of Wands and 7 of Cups. And so in the 4 of Wands, she agrees to sort of she allows herself to become the trophy that's being sort of shown off. And here she's like in Scorpio, she's like, oh, I'm gonna get you. Here are your deep dark desires. Is this what you truly want? Right? Oh boy. They behave so differently in different environments, right? Now we have another group. We have Mercury, Moon, and Saturn, right? This trio shows up in Taurus and in Sagittarius. So in Taurus, we have, Mercury. So we have 5, 6, and 7 of Pentacles, and then that same group shows up in Sagittarius in 8, 9, and 10 of Wands. So in Taurus, it's looking at, starting the plowing and the sowing and dealing with the initial hardships that come along. But then it receives in here, the moon creates that energy of bringing in the help and the success and the rewards for that hard work. And in 7, you take that and you test the limits of your efforts versus success, and you do see some success, you do see some failure as well. But here in Sagittarius, now this was an earthy sign, but here in Sagittarius, which is a fiery sign, we see Mercury coming into Sagittarius in its detriment, but it's still allowing, the space does allow Mercury to still within that structure to grow, to create and explore what it can explore in terms of philosophy, in terms of adventure. And here moon is saying, hey, you need to have your boundaries, and that's where you will find your strength, and you will have the courage to push through. And then in Saturn comes in, of course, and Saturn is like struggling here because he's already carrying so many I guess preconceived beliefs as he walks into this Sagittarian space, and that's a burden because now he can't set it down and look at anything else and learn anything new. Yeah. Okay. So that was, so, and again, look at the group. We have Mars, Sun, and Venus. Mars and Venus are often, called a pair, and then we have the Sun right in the center of the universe. And then these signs, Aries and Scorpio. Aries is 1, Scorpio is 8, first and eighth. So there's 7 signs in between them. And it's interesting. So it's not necessarily like if you place it in a chart, it's not necessarily on the opposite of it. So if this is 1, then it's not 7, right? There's 7 in between them. So it's a very interesting combination there of the planets. But these 2 signs are, both, this is fire and water. Elements are different here. We have fire, and earth. So, that I don't see any, that. If you do, mind, by all means, share what you think, man. This is interesting. Right. The next sort of trio is your Mercury, Moon, and Saturn. So this is showing up in Taurus and Sagittarius. Taurus is number 2, sign number 2, and Sagittarius is 9. Again, 7 in between them. That's interesting. Gap, if you will. Again, they're not opposites in this in the zodiac placements, but it's like 7 signs away from this. So Taurus, so you could say if Taurus is first, like that way, and this will become the 8th in that way, just like Aries and Scorpio, right? So we have the group Mercury, Moon, and Saturn. So it's interesting because now Moon is a satellite of the Earth. Mercury kind of always sort of, is always sort of trailing behind the sun, if you will. If you're studying astrology, you'll know that it's very rare, but it does happen that sometimes Mercury and Sun are in 2 different signs from each other. But mostly Sun and Mercury are always kind of, Mercury is always more or less around Sun in that way. And then we have Saturn, which is like completely, oblivious from this energy. But they have a sort of a triad here, one in Taurus, one in Sagittarius. So these are again earth and fire, and these are air, water, earth, elementally. So what we see here, we have, Mercury in Taurus, bringing the vibe of, creating that material hardship. Moon in Taurus, exalted, is also creating the rewards for that hard work and effort. And the 7 of Pentacles here, Saturn in Taurus, is creating the energy of, that tussle that between the hard work and efforts versus the rewards from that efforts. How much when you push things those rewards can even become failure, right? But then that same trio in Sagittarius, we have in Eight of Wands, Mercury is like, oh, let's go, let's explore, let's have an adventure, even though it's, sort of in its detriment in the structure of the Eight of Wands. It's like, oh, that's okay, I can still, have a good time. Moon, though, brings that emotional sort of understanding, and it sort of looks at the struggle, it looks at the hardship and says, how about a boundary? How about creating that boundary that you protect yourself first, right? That's a good belief to have, obviously. And then we have the Ten of Wands, where again, Saturn comes in, bringing all its burdens and all its, karma, and in the philosophical adventurous space of Sagittarius, it can't really have that adventure. It won't allow itself, so it finds joy in the burdens, if you will, but it's difficult. It's difficult. So now these three, right, let's look at them sort of grouped up. So in Taurus, Mercury creates that challenging energy in the five. Mercury is really troubled, worried. It's like, okay, how can I see these results? Mercury wants fast results. Taurus is not about that for fast results. But here in Sagittarius, even with that sort of restriction of the eight, it's still broader, spacier than the five. And in Sagittarius, it's still allowed to think, even though it's within that structure. It's like, okay, but I can work with that. It's free to think and be. And so it kind of, maybe even with detriment, it does well here, if you will. Now, Moon in a Taurus, right? I think Moon in Taurus is exalted. So Moon in Taurus, right, is able to bring that ebb and flow of rewards, of understanding, and of generosity and success. And in Sagittarius, this moon looks at that whole sort of, you've put yourself through all this, but you need to also protect yourself. Moon rules Cancer, and it brings that whole, nourishment vibe here in Sagittarius and says, protect yourself, draw the line, boundary. And within that, you will find your strength more, right? The wounded healer of Chiron, the Sagittarian, right? And Saturn, in Taurus, Saturn is looking at success and failure both, and he carries that with him into Sagittarius, burdened and unable to explore the adventure of philosophy. Right? It can overcome that burden, but it will require dedicated effort. Mm. Now, we have this trio of Jupiter, Mars, and Sun. Greek myth, I believe Jupiter is the king of gods, Mars is the king, the lord of war, and Sun is, well, the sun, right? Everything happens. And then we have again that gap of 8 signs in between Gemini and Capricorn. So Jupiter in Gemini is in detriment. We see how in the Eight of Swords it's expanding that within that restriction, but then the duality of Gemini comes in, and it's like, oh my god, all these ideas are, pushing away, and it's creating that whole uh, barrier there, and it's kind of restricting this lady. And in the Nine of Swords, Mars is truly taking its energy and action and anger and sort of, the violence, and in the duality of Gemini, it goes to really painful, cruel, brutal, spaces within the mind. And then Sun comes here, and it's like, oh, let me shine too bright and create pain again, more pain, clarity, hardship that comes with too much clarity, with ego even, right? But then in Capricorn, all these energies find a very sort of, cold but structured space to do what they do. And so they're like, all right, Jupiter with its expansive ebb and flow of abundance finds that the structure of Capricorn actually allows it to, push forward with that movement of ebb and flow. Uh, the Mars energy, the active, action oriented energy of Mars finds that, okay, in Capricorn, you can channel that energy into actual creation. And the Sun then looks at everything and says, you know what, now that I have all these resources, I'm going to build myself a fort. I'm going to gather all that I have, all my resources, all my possessions, and I'm going to make myself, protect myself, ensconce myself in this space, or in the structure, and consolidate and control, right? Here we have Jupiter in Gemini, Jupiter in Capricorn. So again, in Gemini, Jupiter is expanding that duality, creating more, mental struggles for her. But in Capricorn, that structure allows Jupiter to truly use that structure to its advantage with that ebb and flow. And it then allows these structural changes to happen. In Mars in Gemini is just going to bring a lot of mental torture here, but in Capricorn it is going to build that structure. It's going to channelize its energy into more solid, good outcomes. In Gemini, the Sun is really going to give your ego such a weird, glaring, energetic push that it will make it hard for clarity to come through, or sometimes too much clarity can be too painful, right? Harsh. But in Capricorn, it's finally finding its structures and it gathers them up and builds that consolidates its control. It builds that control. It builds that fort. And like I keep saying, this is a fort actually. And it's like, I want to protect myself, right? And so, yeah, Gemini and Capricorn. Now, we also have another trio of Venus, Mercury, Moon, showing up in Cancer and Aquarius. Again, Cancer, I think, is 4, Aquarius is 11. You do the math. So, Venus in Cancer is saying, okay, let's connect within this sort of protected and scorned space where we are nourished and loved and protected. Let's be equal. Let's connect, right? Mercury goes hard in Cancer and sort of finds its sort of like-minded sort of group of people, networks, and connects within that protected space of Cancer. Mercury loves to network and form alliances. But Moon in Cancer, in its own domain, finds emotional stability, which then stagnates into listlessness. Venus in Aquarius likes to sort of, struggles with the collective thought processes and either can choose defeat or it can choose breakthrough and, to stand up for what it believes in and choose sort of the harsh victory, if you will. In Aquarius, when Mercury comes in, Mercury brings its inquisitive mind and scientific curiosity and its mathematics and its ability to communicate and express and all of that. And here they really truly sort of build something, make something very solid, very, very clear. And it's also very much having that appeal on the collective sort of realm, right? And Moon then comes into Aquarius, and Moon tries to use its abilities, but within the space of the collective, Moon is unfortunately not going to be successful. It tries to be shady, tries to take advantage. Moon is like, oh, I have the emotional insight, intuitive insight. Let's use it. No, that's not how it's going to be used. It's you can delude yourself into thinking you've got a lot of understanding of how things work, but in the Seven of Swords, that can come back to harm you at the end. There's futility there, there's cheating there, there's not something good, there's deception, and that deception isn't a good idea. It'll not work. So if we group them together, Venus in Cancer loves to form meaningful connections, and in Aquarius, it either will embrace sort of its own self and stand up and fight for it in the collective, or it will embrace defeat and be like, you know what, it ain't worth it, and walk away. But it will find that philosophy that it will stick to. Meanwhile, in Cancer, Mercury will use that sort of space of nourishment and connection to network, to find alliances, to drive his business forward. And in Swords, in Aquarius, Mercury will love to experiment, to try different things out, and to actually build something very beautiful, very, engage in that collective sort of conscious space of inquiry and intelligence. And it really, truly sort of makes different insights, perspectives, all of it sort of happen, and it's beautiful. Right? And in Cancer, we have Moon. Moon shows up in Cancer. As I said, it finds emotional stability in its home, but then that can, if you sit there too long, it becomes boring. But then if you go in Aquarius and try to, pull a few stunts, those are going to come back, and those are going to really truly fail, and they're not going to work, and you're basically just fooling yourself. Right, this is another group. And finally, I hope this is the final one, but this could be, I don't know. We have Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars in Leo and in Pisces. So again, Leo is the sign of kings, Pisces is sign of dissolution. We have Saturn, the old king, Jupiter, the new king, and Mars, the maybe the next king, right? And in Leo, which is the sign of kings, Saturn is in detriment, and it creates that chaos, right? It can't deal with whatever the wand's energy is. The creativity is chaotic, and Saturn can't deal with it. But he tries, he pushes forward, he is like, let's do this, let's try. But in Leo, Jupiter is very much at home and happy, and he leads that team to victory, to success, to abundance. And then Mars comes in Leo and says, hey, I'm going to stand my ground. I'm going to take this to the next level. We will win no matter what. So even with this, satisfied, Leo wants more, and Leo gets more. Mars ensures that Leo will win and overcome the odds. In Pisces, where everything is dissolving, Saturn's structures also dissolve. They're like, Saturn is done. But Saturn embraces that karmic dissolution. He's like, you know what, that's good. Let's do this. And on that spiritual vibe, Saturn is okay. Jupiter is also perfectly okay here in Pisces, because Jupiter is bringing that that contentment, that satisfaction, that joy, and he's expanding that in the melting waters of Pisces. Then Mars comes in, and Mars is like, ooh, ambition. So even in that space of Pisces where everything is just there but melting and dissolved, he's like, nope, I'm going to create the happiest family that ever lived. And he wants to be the best. He brings that ambition back into Pisces. He sets that calm water astir, and shakes everything up there for it. So here we go. In Leo, Saturn is creating a little bit of chaos and pushing through, and in Pisces, he's just like, let it melt, and I'm walking away. Jupiter in Leo is bringing success and victory, and in Pisces is bringing contentment and satisfaction. Mars in Leo is fighting for what his land is, what his rules are, whatever for himself. He's standing up and fighting. He's standing his ground. He's giving it back, and he's winning despite all the odds. And in Pisces, Mars is like, I'm gonna be the best of whatever it is that I'm supposed to be here. If you want this, okay, I'm the best at that. You want that, I'm the best at that. Ambition comes back to Pisces, the realms of dissolution are like, okay, I'm going to now bring ambition here, and I'm not dissolving that. Okay, so these are the sort of planet groups, if you will, within these spaces of the signs. Now there are non-repeating planet groups as well. We have Sun, Venus, and Mercury showing up in Virgo. So we have the Sun in Virgo, in Eight of Pentacles, improving the skill set, using the Virgoan sort of ability of analysis and sort of discernment there. And Venus in her fall here, making ambitions into material gain. And Mercury comes in and takes that to the next level and absolutely creates a legacy of sort of material satisfaction and happiness there and abundance, right? In Virgo, all these planets really truly are, well, Venus is in a fall, but uh, you know, it's okay. They do a good job, I guess. And then we have Libra. So again, we have Libra is 7 and Virgo is 2, I believe. Yes. Not 2, sorry, 6. My bad. The sixth sign is Virgo and Libra is the seventh sign. So these are the two signs that don't have sort of groups here. And what we have here, we have Moon, Saturn, and Jupiter. Saturn is exalted. Moon in Libra is about choices, balanced choices, the right choices, and it's hard for them to make those choices. So intuition is there to guide you. But then Saturn truly is like, yeah, we need to find the balance. We need to cut right through those choices and go to the middle path. Again, a painful breakthrough, heart wrenching. But then Jupiter comes in and says, hey, let's find the balance. Let's find the sort of, let's find our footing here. Let's understand what are the lessons here. What is the belief here? What is the deep underlying philosophy here? What do we learn here? Right? All of that happens and it makes peace with it. So yeah, Libra. Right? What else? Ooh, oh, I think we're kind of now going to wrap up. It's been a long video, isn't it? And we are now going to basically see the Decan Walk in its entirety. Okay, and I'm going to sort of run through it. Thank you for being patiently, sort of, patient with me and sticking it out till the very end. I have to say that. Oof, here we go. So, two wands, we have Mars in Aries saying, hey, let's go, let's have an adventure. Sun in Aries, you have. So, when that adventure continues and the sun stands there and sort of surveys its realm and says, look at my land. Uh, then in Venus comes into Aries, and she's like, okay, I'm the trophy, but let's go ahead, let's have the party anyhow. Like, this is fun. I'm enjoying myself a bit. But then there's hardship, there's struggle, there's worry in the material realm of the Five of Pentacles with Mercury in Taurus, where you're not able to convey really what it is that you want to do, and Taurus isn't allowing that to happen, uh, right? And after that struggle, Moon in Taurus is like, hey, that deserves to be rewarded. Whatever you've put in, hard work, you will get your rewards here, right? But then Saturn in Taurus is like, yeah, but what are the efforts versus rewards? Like, how much efforts are worth how much rewards? Do I, what's the equation? What's that? And it suffers from that, and because Saturn wants to find that karmic balance, if you will, and yeah, it sees both sides. It sees success and failure. But then Jupiter comes into German in Gemini, and it's facing all these thoughts, yeah, and it's trying to make a philosophy, but within that restriction and duality of eight and Gemini respectively. Jupiter can't. It's just find itself stuck in that loop, if you will. And that continues with Mars in Gemini as that loop becomes bigger and more harsher and more painful, more cruel, and it kind of becomes it sets upon itself really. That pain grows and grows, and as the bright sun sort of shows up, and there's ego comes into the play, right? There's too much clarity really coming into play, and that's like the painful ends really of Ten of Swords. But then Venus shows up in Cancer after all that. You have to nourish yourself, and Venus comes in finally and says, here, let's connect, let's find our healing, and love each other, let's connect with each other, right? And in that space, Mercury is happy to connect and say, hey, let's make alliances, let's network, let's create something that really truly thrives and prospers. um, but then Moon in Cancer is like, yeah, let's find that stability. But that stability again can become boring and listless and like, ugh, I don't want to move. So Saturn in Leo is like, hey, let's let's tone it down a bit, but it ain't happening. There's chaos, there's confusion, there is no regulation here, and it wants to push past that chaos. It's not happy, but it is what it is. It can get a little too egotistically too, maybe. But then Jupiter comes up and says, hey, wait, let me organize this for you. And there's a system, and Jupiter creates that system, and Jupiter leads everyone to success. And then Mars comes into Leo and says, hey, we've built all this. I'm going to protect it. And I'm going to, because again, it has to protect against all the onslaught of everything coming at it. With that knowledge in the Eight of Pentacles, with Sun in Virgo, Sun is like, okay, let's put all that knowledge to use. Let's use our clarity to create that structure, to analyze it, what we've made, what we've learned, and make it something solid. So they do that. And then Venus comes here, and Venus is like, okay, all that knowledge, all that skills, let me put those into use, and let me create this abundance that we are seeking. Let me manifest this comfort that I'm all about. Let me really truly put my use my energies to do this, right? And it becomes ambitious, but here we go. In Virgo, when Mercury comes in, it takes that energy and it turns that into a legacy of success and happiness and abundance. Okay, the story continues, of course. In the Two of Swords, there will be choices, there will be decisions, and those will involve taking the Moon's energy and the Libran energy of balance into play. And so you use your intuition, your insight into your own emotional states to take those choices, make those decisions. Of course, Saturn coming into Libra also is like all about that karmic balance, but he's like, no, don't go here, don't go there, go right through the middle. It is probably not an ideal answer, but it is the answer you get when you really want to cut everything into right down the middle. It is a painful breakthrough. It can create sorrow, but well, it is what it is. And then Jupiter comes into Libra and looks at that sort of space and says, okay, let's make sense of this. Let's understand what we just did, what we went through. Let's heal from this. let's make peace with this. But Mars isn't having it. Mars is in Scorpio, looking at the deeper, darker energies and facing that, looking at that, building that resentment, connecting with others like itself, and sort of getting depressed, getting angry, and getting all into its feelings. And so then the Sun comes and says, hey, listen, dude, let's calm down, let's calmly look at what our patterns are, let's look at let's rationally analyze this journey so far, and this, we can find joy again. We needn't go at it angrily, we can look at it with clarity. But then Venus is like, you want clarity? Sure. Let's look at this, let's look really deep at your ambitions. Is this truly what you want? Is this truly what you desire? Is this absolutely your thing? Or are you deluding yourself? Are you engaging in dangerous addictions and deceptions? What is it that you truly want? So then in Eight of Wands, Mercury comes in and says, hey, I'm going to look at this deeply, philosophically, try to find a way to express it creatively. And it's even with the structure, even though it's a little, not completely, fully there, allowed to do its thing, it's okay, it's happy, it sees that philosophy. And then the moon comes in Sagittarius, and you're like, hey, I understand what you've been through, and I get that. But if you want to truly go out into the world and show your courage, show your true self, you need to also protect yourself, not leave yourself too vulnerable either, right? With that belief, with these philosophies, with these experiences, Saturn comes into Sagittarius all pretty preloaded with different things, and it doesn't have the time, space, or the energy for an adventure. It's like, oh, I'm super busy. Do not bother me. Then in your Pentacles, Two of Pentacles, Jupiter comes in and uses that structural sort of earthy space to grow, to create that structure, grow, expand, and create more bigger structures. Change is also good here. It is allowing these material resources to ultimately, go through these cyclical processes of ebb and flow to manifest something good. And Mars here comes in the Three of Pentacles and says, okay, I'm going to put this energy to good use and I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to absolutely create this structure for you, right? And then the Sun comes here and says, okay, now that you've built that structure, that's going to be my fortress. I am consolidating everything and I'm going to create that little, I'm the king and I need my fortress to be strong. Well, Venus comes in Aquarius and she's like, oh yeah, is that it? Is that all that you got to say for yourself? I'm going to stand here and I'm going to address everything square in the face, the collective philosophies and ideas, and that often are not aligned with, well, the weak, the sort of comfort zone that Venus is all about. So you can either walk away in defeat, or you can stand your ground and face it down and just be the bully, if you will, but you'll win, right? But then you have Mercury coming into the collective of Aquarius and saying, "Hey, listen, let's explore this scientifically. Let's look at this with curiosity. Let's try to make sense of this. Let's try to bring some harmony here." And we have different perceptions and insights. We have innovations and we have growth there of a different kind, and it's truly mind blowing in various ways. But then in the Seven of Swords, Moon comes in and says, hey, I'm going to use my EQ to make things happen. You'll see. And oh my God, the collective isn't really liking it because EQ is not to be used for that strategic advantage so much. And it therefore creates that energy of futility, right? That deception and all of that, and the choices, the shady practices, they don't linger, they can't stay, you will be caught. And then Saturn comes and says, you know what, this is great. In Pisces, everything is dissolving. Pisces is also spiritual fulfillment. I have been holding on to these structures for so long. It's a lot. Let it all go. Let it all dissolve. Let it just dissolve. It's pointless, really. And he walks away and allows everything to melt. Jupiter comes in, it's his home, and he's like, yeah, let's bring in that satisfaction. Let's bring in the contentment. Let's really, truly bring in joy and optimism. And then we have Mars saying, oh, fantastic. Let me build this sort of family situation here. I've got this great thing going. I'm going to make the best family situation. I'm going to truly, truly push this and make it truly the best. I mean, you've never seen anything better than mine. My family's the best. Like that's his story. And that's how the adventurer who began his journey in the Two of Wands comes home to a successful conclusion. Ah, oh my God. This has been quite the adventure, and you might again have sensed this video was actually recorded in 3 or 4 parts differently with edits and everything. I hope I can make a cohesive video here, but I truly appreciate all of you guys sticking it out with me in this journey. I genuinely appreciate it. And I'm very, very grateful. And I sincerely hope that, these are the patterns I saw. I hope you can resonate with them. If there are other patterns that you have seen, other stories that you can tell, oh, please, I would love to hear them. And because this is how we grow, isn't it? Like I'm sharing what I'm thinking, I'm seeing, but you can share what you thought and so on. And I may have not seen that, and that's perfectly okay, right? I would love, love, love to hear your insights, your thoughts, the patterns that you saw, all of it. I would love to hear your analysis, your stories, because I built the story this way, but that's not the only way, right? Like you build it your way, and I would love to hear yours. If you've made a video, tag me in it. If you want to send me an email, that's fine, send it. If you want to put a comment, I would absolutely appreciate it. And please, I would love it if you would hit the like button, if you would share, if you would subscribe, all that good stuff. Please, that would be just amazing. Okay, and while this Decan Walk adventure has maybe wrapped up for now, there will be other videos. I'm not going anywhere. So I will see you again in my next video. Until then, stay good, be good, and play with your cards. Bye now.